everybody, welcome. We're just waiting for the guest to come back in. So, this gonna be good. This is always good, isn't it? When we're live. We got 3 TikTok viewers. What's up, Weaver? What's up, JM? Thanks for joining the live, guys. Yeah. We're back live again. What's up, HC? What's up, Sophia? What's up, user 906? What's up, Sunflower B? What's up, user 568? Now, hold on just a minute. I'm trying to figure out Oh, yeah, there's a Facebook stream. Perfect. Okay, shall we launch the Facebook stream? I thought it was already launched, but I got to get a way to do it so that it comes up automatically. You're saying it's UK Live Debate. So, guys, remember to follow me on Facebook. It's just Ama Maduako, AMA, and then last name MADUAKO. User 568 says, yo, bruv. We're just waiting for people to filter in while we launch the Facebook stream. Really, now I'm thinking I should probably launch the Facebook stream first because it takes a little while for it to like come on. So we're going live now on Facebook, which is cool. We got 5 people watching live on TikTok. What's up, Jerry Morse? What's up, King CH? I hope we get some good debaters today. What's up, Deborah Edwards? Let me turn up the volume for you guys. Of you guys on me. Joey O says Wales is beautiful. Wales is okay. What we got? Oh, we got a new subscriber. Thank you. This is what we need. We need people to start subscribing on YouTube. YouTube is where it's at, guys. State of Deception. If you look at the top, you can clearly see it says watch on YouTube at State of Deception. And when you watch on YouTube, you get a better quality. So I can't think for the life of me why anybody... I mean, some people have told me that they prefer watching on TikTok, which is fine. But watch on YouTube. It's like more interesting. And you can also comment on YouTube. I'll still read the YouTube comments. So thank you for the new subscribers. What's up, Adrian Charles? What's up, Nadilicious? What's up, Lauren77? What's up, T? Thanks for joining, guys. And I'm pretty much live every day, as you know. We got 8 viewers, guys. Run up the likes. We got literally 0. Guys, tap the screen to like the live, please. Press the share button down below. And the most important button in the live, if you're on TikTok, is the follow button. Mike Purvis says, better until you get shot over a parking space. Yeah, I don't know. Does that happen? Maybe it does happen, that people get shot over a parking space. You win. People get shot over a parking space. You literally win. You got me there. Hold on. Let me just make the screen bigger for myself. There we go. That's better. You know, guys, I'm old now. I can't even read without my glasses. Hold on. Ghost says, are you being for real? Ghost, I've seen you here before. I don't know why you're pretending like you're shocked when you've literally been on my live before. Don't be silly, mate. I've clocked you. Ray says, oh, there we go. This print has been messing up all day. Let's just stop it. Is that why it's doing this? Right, your schools are just called. Did you see Panorama regarding the police? No, I didn't. I usually don't like the panoramas that talk about police corruption. They never really go into how the police is corrupt. Like, not just the panoramas, but like the exposés. So, I don't know. I haven't seen it. What's it about? Maybe you could tell me. In fact, should we look it up? Because that could be something I react to after this. Because we do the live reactions as well. Panorama Police. And guys, remember, this is a debate live. So we do take guest requesters. And we welcome guest requesters. Panorama Police. Is this recent? Police misogyny and racism exposed in secret filming by Panorama. We can add this to the reactions. I'll do a reaction to this today and I'll post it on YouTube. Thank you very much. Are they really racist and misogynistic? I feel like they're the opposite, like super left wing. Or is that just in my head? Like, is that not in my head? I feel like the police are super like left wing. Like, no, I they don't strike me as racist and misogynist. They strike me as like going out of their way to like push feminist narratives and leftist narrative. No, it could just be my, you know, I'm sure they do some level of racial profiling, because when there's a stereotype about a group type of person, that's going to affect everyone. People are going to get stereotypes, unfortunately. But Manifestation Mama says, remember the police deleted evidence from Nottingham Hospital investigation files. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. I like that kind of corruption being exposed. I don't like it when they're just like, they're racist and misogynist. Like, okay, everybody's racist, everybody's sexist, everyone's misogynist. We get it. Like, I am, you are. Okay, now let's move into the real corruption. The real corruption is stuff like that. So that's the kind of stuff that I want exposed. MPS8 says, go and live there then. What are you still doing here? Unfortunately, it's kind of difficult to move to the USA unless you just like go to Mexico and then like go across the border with the cartels and then you just live as a second class citizen kind of thing. Like, I don't No, I don't want to do that. I think I'm going to have to get the visa, which is quite difficult to obtain, as you very well know. Go says, genuinely, gun crime in the US is only on the rise, and D-Trump is actually engaging in authoritarian. Actually, gun crime has been declining for the past 20 years in the USA. I don't know if you didn't know that, but that's why I'm here to tell you. Manifestation, Mama says, it's because they're all Masons and support each other. Didn't a story come out like 2 days ago that said police are now going to be required, well, there's a bill being drafted to suggest that they might be required to state if they're Freemasons. I'm fairly certain I saw that story. Guys, keep tapping the screen to like the live. We're almost at our 1,000 like goal. We want to get ever more likes to boost us in the algorithm. The Facebook stream is somewhat delayed. It's kind of interesting. It's like I can watch myself back in real time. Lewis says, would love a G. Yeah, me too. I mean, I've had one when I was in America. Well, not had one, you know. I was using the same one all the time at the gun range. They want them to declare it. Yeah. Andre says, are you American? No, I'm not American. How old to join? If you have to ask, you're not old enough. Do you believe the US is a democracy? No, I don't think it's a democracy. Although I think it provides democracy better than the UK does. But I don't think it is a democracy. Democracy is like an after effect, like a side effect of what the USA is. It's not built as a democracy, but it provides a form of democracy for people because they get representation through the republic. USA is much better, and I'm from the UK. Just UK is much safer. I suppose you could say that. You know, I don't know how much credence you can give to safety at the point where you live in a country that's kind of on a serious decline economically and socially. At that point, are you even that concerned about safety? I guess if you've been personally victimized by crime. But generally, Western countries are typically safe, and their crime reporting, I think, is more reliable than many other countries. So, for example, a lot of countries will be like, oh, this is our crime rates, but like, they're not even really keeping their crime statistics properly. So when stuff happens, you just pay the police and they don't record the crime. So you can't really rely on a lot of crime rates in a lot of African countries and stuff like that. That's just the reality. And Asian countries, a lot of them, and I'm not saying they don't fiddle the numbers in the West either, but I'm just saying like there's so much more robust mechanisms to determine what the actual crime rate is, like police reporting. You can't bribe. I've never heard of anyone bribing the police in the UK, but that's a routine thing in Asia, Central America, and Africa. So yeah, Western countries are typically safe. Whether you're talking about USA, Switzerland, UK, Germany, they're typically safe. Blitz says USA, mass shootings, no free healthcare, racist country, hateful police. Well, that's you being prejudiced. So you are only characterizing it by all its worst aspects. And free healthcare is not real. A country can't be racist, and police, obviously, how hateful they are depends on who they are. However, I do think that police are robots, and you know they self-admit that they're robots because they are programmed to follow certain guidelines. And when you're dealing with robots, is there even any point in criticizing them? They decided to be a robot, and they're just going to carry out the role that a robot does. You might as well attack the person programming the robot. Carrie Classic says 2 to 3 months maternity. You'll be lucky to have 3 months. I'm happy with my 9 months free maternity. I mean, again, what is the birth rate in the UK? Isn't it like 1.3 or 1.4 children per person, something like that? So you're genuinely talking about something that happens once in your life. Great. You know, you're going to define where you live by having 6 months off once in your life. 6 months extra off once in your life. Bagsin says Niger police only understand Naira. Lol. Yeah, this is the thing. Like a lot of people that are Nigerian and people in my family, they kind of say to me like, oh, you haven't been to Nigeria. They don't push it super hard, but it's like you can tell they want me to go, why haven't you been to Nigeria and all this stuff? And I'm just like, I actually don't really have that much of a desire to go, other than to see my heritage, see like my people and stuff. I'm just like, other than that, I wouldn't want to live in a place where you can bribe the police. I wouldn't want to live in a place where there's like all this political instability, where like Islamic jihad is just a feature and the people in government just accept that as the norm. Like, I wouldn't want to live in a place like that. So even though everybody hates on the West, I am a person that is grateful for the West. I think the West has provided great things for the world. I think the common law system is one of the greatest things ever created. And, you know, people have their opinions about that, about me feeling that way. But the reason I talk about these countries is because they are relevant countries, and they're still two of the best places to live in the world. But there are distinct differences, which we got to get into them. And let's see if we get some more debaters on the live. We've got 86 people in the live, guys. If everyone likes the live 100 times, then we'll get 8,600 likes. And that's going to put us at, what, like over 10,000 likes. And I think I deserve that because really, I put in a shift on these lives. Tazzy B says, sorry, but you are inciting hate. How am I inciting hate? You see, people like you are the problem in both the UK and the USA. You just have small brains. Go says political instability, but you want to move to the most unstable democracy ever. It's not an unstable democracy. It's a very stable democracy. You got to remember, when things happen at the federal government level or the executive level, that doesn't mean that those things are happening at the state level. So you got to pay close attention to stuff like that. Because a lot of things that happen in the USA, they don't actually affect everyday citizens. Everyday citizens are going on about their life. Now, if you're an illegal, then yeah, good luck. That's going to be tough for you nowadays. Carrie Classic says, yes, it means so much to me as a woman. I'm planning to have 4. I have 1 already. I'm glad that you're planning to have 4. That's great. I've got 4, so you got to catch up to me, baby. I got 4 kids, but I'm planning to have like 10, so we'll see how things go. But if that's something that means a lot to you, then for sure, stay in the UK. If you want to take advantage of maternity leave, I would hope that you have, I'm assuming you have someone that you're in a loving relationship with if you want to continuously have kids with someone. So, yeah, if that matters a lot to you, sure, stay in the UK. I personally think the USA is the best place to raise a family because of the principles of the country and, how open it is. It would be you see, I got 4 kids. Obviously, one of my children unfortunately passed away because she was killed by the medical system in the UK. But already having 3 kids going around the UK, it feels extremely claustrophobic. It feels very difficult to get around. The idea of getting on public transport with 3 children is just absolutely asinine. And driving around the UK, again, the road's very small and it's very claustrophobic. So if you want to have a big family, you want to be on your own land in the USA. And not everyone can afford that, but you definitely ain't really pulling that shit off in the UK. That'll be quite difficult, actually. From the planning permission laws all the way to the literal amount of space, all the way to the cost of everything. Tazibi says, stop blaming someone else for your kid's death. Well, my child was killed in front of me, so I don't know why you would think I wouldn't blame the people that killed her in front of me. But I can see that you're here to antagonize and you're here to derail the live because you're already raising stupid points and nothing you've said has actually been of any benefit. So let's just block you off and continue the conversation. Joshi says, what about healthcare prices and gun violence? Yeah, so healthcare prices are an issue in the USA. I think that there's many mechanisms that can be used to drive health prices down. Trump is implementing some of these mechanisms. And the reality is that the cost of something only matters with respect to the amount of money that people have. So I don't know if you know this, but the UK has among the highest healthcare prices in the world, definitely in the top 10, possibly top 5. But obviously that doesn't necessarily mean that they're paying the highest percentage of their salary towards healthcare. And it's similar to the USA. Rigo says, how did they kill her in front of you? There was a machine malfunction with her ventilator that collapsed the right upper lobe of her lung because the staff members set a ventilator machine wrong and intubated her with the wrong size tube. And they also didn't attend to the machine when it was malfunctioning, and she was left for approximately an hour plus deteriorating, and then her lung collapsed in multiple places. She died 2 days later, and then they covered it up. And 10 people witnessed this, but the NHS covers up deaths all the time. I don't know if you're aware of that. And I'm sure medical systems in every country cover up deaths. So I'm not saying that's a uniquely NHS thing, but it's definitely becoming more characteristic of the UK as waiting lists increase, public confidence in the NHS decreases, and they become desperate to cover up wrongdoing such so that they're not held accountable. It's a failing system, really. Go says, do you believe in women's bodily autonomy? I believe in the bodily autonomy of all individuals. I'm anti-vaccine, anti-circumcision. I believe in all people's bodily autonomy, not just women's bodily autonomy. Carrie Classic says, I will live anywhere in the world apart from USA. The safety is concerning for me. Well, that's strange. So you'd live anywhere in Africa, anywhere in Central America, even though many of those places, many countries in those places are less safe than the USA. It seems like you have an ideological opposition to the USA, as many UK citizens do. Go says, are you pro-life? Yes, I am 100% pro-life. Hector says, what are your reasons for this? We can get into it. In fact, I'll put a debater up in a sec. I just need more likes on the thing because we only got 1.5k likes, and those are rookie numbers. And we got 59 people viewing, so I know damn well you guys are going to tap the screen more, and you should be because, you know, like I told you, I'm putting in a damn shift. I'm putting in a damn shift every day, coming on live. We're live right now on YouTube. We're live right now on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube if you want to watch the live stream on YouTube. I personally prefer it on YouTube. What we got? Probably got like 2 viewers or something like that. Let's check. Whoops, 1 viewer. Okay, we got 1 person viewing on YouTube. But this is how you build a live, platform. You gotta just every day put in a shift. Art Stern says there are benefits and downsides to both. Of course. The USA does have mass amount in debt and can't agree. Carrie Classic says I'm referring to developed countries. My mistake. USA is the last place for me. Okay, I think you may have a somewhat of a biased perspective of what it's like, but if that's how you feel, then that's how you feel. I don't know why you would think that the UK is better as a developed country than the USA. That seems kind of strange to me. But hey, okay, far right Sean. Let's see what far right Sean has to say. This should be interesting. Oh, far right Sean, did you not manage to join the live? Oh, I don't know if he left or something because I made him wait too long. Dylan G says the USA does have amazing roads to go on, but the UK does have pros. Artson says, are you American or British? I'm British. Ghost says America has a systemic issue with women's and trans rights. Does it? And what? I don't understand how. Like what country gives trans people better rights than the USA? I would like to know. And what rights do you believe that people who are deluded into thinking that they're the other sex, what rights are they supposed to have that they don't have? And systemic issue with women's rights. What are the systemic issues of women's rights? Are you saying that not letting them kill their own child is somehow a women's rights issue? That's weird to think that. What do you think makes America better than the UK? Just wondering. The laws, the country itself, the opportunities. Leela Alcorn. What's Leela Alcorn? Who's that? Let's look him up. Or her, or him. Leela Alcorn. Leela Alcorn. American blogger. American transgender girl whose suicide attracted international attention. She posted suicide. Oh, actually, I shouldn't be talking about that because it might get me banned. Let's go off that topic because I don't think that TikTok likes that topic particularly. So we don't tolerate discrimination, harassment, bullying of any kind on this live, and we love TikTok. Show up. She posted a blog about societal standards affecting transgender people and expressing her hope that her would create a dialogue about discrimination, abuse, and lack of support for transgender people. What support are they supposed to have? Go says, I was going to interact until you said that prejudice isn't a great place to start a conversation. What prejudice are you talking about? I'm so confused right now. You are prejudiced against America because you said it has a systemic issue with women's and trans rights, but you haven't substantiated it at all or justified it. And then you're falsely accusing me of being prejudiced. So I already don't like you because you're falsely accusing me. And that's like one of my triggers. USA is better. The country, the schools, the people, the jobs, opportunity. I totally agree. Go says you said trans people are deluded. Well, they by definition are. Do you know what a delusion is? Should we look up the definition? I'm going to teach you step by step since you want to be obtuse. The definition of a delusion: a false belief or judgment about external reality held despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary as a symptom of serious mental illness. So yes, gender dysphoria is a classified mental illness. And the incontrovertible evidence to the contrary of their belief is their recognized sex, their chromosomes, and their body. That's the incontrovertible evidence. So they, by definition, are deluded because they hold a false belief about external reality. So I don't know I don't know why I needed to explain that to a grown adult. But you're an idiot, basically. At least there isn't a school shooting here every week. Yeah, true. At least there isn't. USA, I would feel like you're in a movie more. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. It feels like you're in a movie. Okay, let's just ignore Ghost because they're like a low IQ individual. Blue Sky says, know a few British people that super hate Trump and the US. I'm thinking it might be jealousy. Oh yeah, it's a lot of it is jealousy, some of it's ignorance, and some of it is just not having access to certain information. That's why I like doing this live, because I like to share information and help people be open minded about stuff. And I try to dispel myths that Americans have about the UK as well. M says if you're Team UK, spam GB, spam. Oh yeah, M's. No one's gonna listen to you. I promise you that. Ice Swallow says why can't? Oh, Ice what? Wow. Okay. Not going to read out that username. Why can't everyone just get along? Sage says there's general scientifical evidence to validate trans identities. That has nothing to do with whether it's a delusion or not. So you can validate whatever you want. By definition, it is a delusion. Israel Duke says we won the war. We better. Blue Sky says I actually wanted to look for a reason and jealousy was the only one. Yes, it is a big one, I do think. Cheryl says our government is a laughing stock, calling reform members Nazis and racists. They're like kids. Yeah, UK government, I don't know. A lot of people have issues now with the UK government. More than I think. Doesn't Starmer have like the lowest approval rating in history or something like that? Annie says if UK never explored, America would never be there. That's true. Have we got any guest requesters? We got 3.6k likes, guys. Keep tapping the screen. Too Special says I agree. I want to move for real. If you're young, you should go and marry a girl in the United States. That'd be a nice move for you. Tatum says the UK is just slightly more elegant. Okay. We've got 37 people in the live. Guys, tap the screen to like the live. We want to get to 10k. Apparently, when you get to 10k, they share you with more people. Sage says you should speak to a gender specialist. You're not in that field. I'm cool. I don't particularly want to speak to a gender specialist. I don't see why I would need to speak to a gender specialist to understand what the definition of delusion is. I mean, you do recognize that in order to get hormone therapy, you have to be diagnosed with a mental illness. You do realize that, right? So even the specialists themselves are telling the people that they have a recognized mental illness. Oh, you're just dumb, so you don't want to contend with logic and reality. You just want to talk shit about stuff that makes no sense. So if you have to go to a medical professional and be diagnosed with a mental illness in order for it to be treated, how can you then turn around and say it's not a mental illness or that it's not a delusion? By definition, it is a delusion or mental illness, which is why they have to treat it. Even a trans person will tell you that. And I don't see how the UK or the USA is different with respect to how transgender people are treated anyway. What's up, Penelope?
Hello. I would like to first of all mention that the UK is the only one with free healthcare.
You sound like a little kid.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, you do sound like a little kid, and there's no such thing as free healthcare. I'm going to drop you down only because you sound super young. Stu Wu says, since when is mental illness seen as delusion? It's a delusional mental illness. It's not that it's a delusion because it's a mental illness. It is a mental illness that is characterized by a delusional belief. So it is by definition a delusion, And the thing is, people like you, like I say, people like you are the problem. People like you are the problem with the West in general. Can you even name what this mental illness is? Yes, it's called gender dysphoria. Oh, should we look up what dysphoria means? Should we look up what dysphoria means? A mental state in which a person has a profound sense of unease or dissatisfaction with their physical body, if it's gender dysphoria. So they have a profound sense of dissatisfaction with their body such that they want to become something that they are not. They want people to treat them as if they're something that they're not. So they have a delusional belief that they can change gender, which is not even real. That's delusion. American Psychiatric Association no longer classified as such. Okay, that's fine. If people don't agree with trans people, that's their opinion. That's what makes the world go round. I don't disagree with them. In fact, I actually have no problem with them at all. I'm just saying, by definition, they are delusional. Like, that would be like saying I have a problem with somebody who thinks that they're going to become the next. Like, my uncle, when I speak to my uncle, he's like, yo, man, I'm going to meet Beyonce and Jay-Z, and we're going to be the best rapper, because my uncle has schizophrenia. He has delusional beliefs. I don't have a problem with my uncle, but he has delusional beliefs because he has schizophrenia. Like, knowing that someone is delusional doesn't mean you have a problem with them. Bro, summarize why you think it's better, please. It provides more economic opportunity for its citizens, and it also the citizens have more rights. Those are the two main things, and also it's easier to live rurally and off grid. Pablo the Frug says, being racist is a great live stream idea. Yeah, fine to admit to do. How am I being racist? More and more, I'm starting to realize that I'm in a society filled with dunces. It's not a delusional belief. Some people just agree with science because, let's face it, it never lies. Are we really in this live now with people telling me that believing that you are a boy when you're a girl, or believing that you're a girl when you're a boy, is not by definition a delusion? I don't see how that's not a delusion. Like, go and look up the definition of delusion, because the thing is, I like English, you know what I'm saying? I'm good with like words, so I only use words if I'm using them correctly, and if I'm incorrect, I'll go and correct myself. We just pulled up the definition of a delusion. Like, do you disagree with the English definition of a delusion? No, in the UK and internationally, being transgender is not considered a mental illness. I didn't say that being transgender is a mental illness. I said gender dysphoria is a mental illness. You're saying a country is better than another without having a person who is British. Come on, feel free to debate me. And a country is not necessarily defined by a single race of people, especially not when you're talking about the UK and the USA, although they are majority white countries. But that even further disproves the idea of this being racist, because I'm comparing two majority white countries. So how would that make me racist? Blue Sky says, lol, they don't have anything to argue with and they just throw racist comment tantrums. Sage 4560 just can't deal with logic at all. Sage, please never serve on a jury. Never serve on a jury. Never teach anybody anything, because you struggle with basic logic. Let's move on. Luke says, I do hear what you're saying, but do you not believe UK has more opportunities and we have more rights? No, it's the opposite. I said that the USA has more opportunities and more rights. So it's definitely the inverse of what you just said. USA better at prison population, world's largest. Yeah, that does suck. But I guess that just means that there's a lot of people that get put in prison, right? The UK is better, bro. USA better at knife crime, more deaths. Yes, the USA in general is a more dangerous society on average. Stu says, what's your education level? It doesn't sound like you completed high school. Don't worry about my education level. It doesn't even matter. Because, I mean, if you think anything I've said this live is wrong or misinformed, you're obviously not very intelligent. So there's no point even having a discussion with you. Okay, Pablo the Frug says, tell me what a British sounds like, then let's see. Oh my gosh. Okay, why do you stand so hard by a country that you're not from? I'm not standing by it. I'm stating what I believe to be reality. I think that a lot of people are deluded about the state of the UK, and I think that they get fed propaganda that tells them that everyone in the USA is getting shot and all this stuff. But in reality, the USA is probably the best place to be in the world. But we get told as UK citizens these lies about what the USA is like because of the media. The American media is particularly culpable for this. We get told a lot of lies. So then when you actually go there and spend time there, if you go there with an open mind and you go to different places, I think personally you realize, wow, we've kind of been lied to. I know I was lied to. You know, most people in the UK, we grow up thinking America bad, America bad. That's the truth. And that's most people, and you see that on the live. Like, I personally think that anyway. Hearn says, I completely believe you. I loved it so much more when I went to New York for 2 weeks. I don't even, that's what I'm saying. I think it's only really certain Western European countries that think that the UK or Western Europe is better than the USA. It's, if you go to any other country, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Eritrea, I don't know, Kazakhstan, they will all be like, oh yes, America really good, America best. But then when you go to the UK, they're like hard-headed, like, oh, like, America bad. But I think it's the delusion. That's just my perspective anyway. MJ Blee says, always avoiding your level of education, yet you are rude enough to call others a dunce. No, I just recognize that I can't win with you, because if I told you my level of education, then you would start falsely accusing me of using that as the reason why I know more than others. I'm not saying that I know more than others. I'm giving you my opinion, and I'm telling you that many people in this life are ignorant, illogical, delusional, the people that are falsely accusing and attacking me with these strange allegations. And so I don't really want to engage with that. And I think it's egotistical to act as though because you have a certain education level that means that you're right. Luke says, I believe we have more opportunities and rights. I'm asking for your counter argument. Well, that's objectively false, because we don't have the two main things we don't have that Americans have are freedom of speech, the right to bear arms. And in addition, Americans are slightly more protected from civil forfeiture, and they're also more protected from warrantless searches. So Americans have more civil liberties, and they also have a better form of representative democracy. I'm just gonna mute some of the derailers. Okay, let's get guys. If you want to argue, feel free to just request and debate. I don't want to keep reading your bullshit comments that are just leading us nowhere. If you wanna debate, just request to come up and we can talk about it. And if you need anything clarified, I'll be happy to clarify it. Why do you not believe we have freedom of speech, bro? We can literally cuss out police officers. We can get to that. One sec. Let me just speak to Thomas. What's up, Thomas?
How is the USA like better than the UK?
Okay, another little kid. I don't know what's up with I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to be too mean, because everyone telling me I'm a meanie these days. You're a meanie. You're being rude. Okay, let me not be a meanie. As if Donald Trump ain't removing free speech. No, he's not. He doesn't have the power to do that. You can say anything to do with their government is bad. Right, so let me address the point about free speech. The UK citizens do not have free speech. They do not have the right to cause somebody distress with their speech, and they can be imprisoned for doing that. By definition, that is in contradiction to the concept of free speech, which is about not being held criminally liable for your speech. So if you can be held criminally liable for your speech, then that's not free speech. Now, based on that definition, of course, that means nowhere in the world has free speech. Correct. But obviously, as a concept, it's a relative concept. USA has the most free speech in the world. So we would denote it as having free speech compared to countries that do not have free speech. But nowhere has absolute free speech. What's up, Alex? Oh, Alex has dropped down. Sage, why don't you come up and debate? Because you seem very invested in the things that you're saying, and you're accusing me of being delusional. Well, you're not saying I'm delusional. I think you're saying someone would be delusional to think that they wouldn't be held liable in any capacity. Well, you can not be held criminally liable in the USA for speech that would be considered grossly offensive. And that obviously means that UK citizens have less free speech than US citizens. I think that's quite obvious. And this is exactly what I'm talking about the delusional kind of reality. This is why my channel is called State of Deception, because you got a lot of people that they live in this like delusional reality. Like, even when it's obviously right in front of their face that UK citizens don't have free speech, they will still argue for their delusional reality. What do you call that? I call that State of Deception. That's why my channel is called State of Deception. You know, we got State of Deception in every facet of human society, with people just walking zombies nowadays, just living in these fake realities. Like the people arguing to me that it's not a delusion to think that you are a man when you're a woman. That is there cannot be anything more delusional than that. Like, that is the most delusional belief. Real Mango says, what about your government? What I'm not American, by the way. I hope you realize that. What about Belfast? I don't know anything about Belfast. Is Belfast in Northern Ireland or is it in Republic of Ireland? I feel like it's in Northern Ireland. So, because I'm assuming you're bringing it up because it's in the UK. So I think Belfast is in Northern Ireland. Should we check? I should know this, to be honest. Yes, capital of Northern Ireland. There we go. What's your favourite kind of cheese? Cheddar. I live half in the US, half in Manchester. UK is shockingly behind the US. Exactly. Thank you, Deek. And this is what I've experienced as well. I've been to about 10 to 12 US states, and I come back to the UK, and I think that it's quite sad. Not because I don't love the UK, but I think it's quite sad the level of delusion that we're living under in the UK when we think that USA is doing bad and we're doing good. That is pure delusion, in my opinion. Okay, we got some requesters. Finally, it's about time. We got 45 viewers. Guys, tap the screen to like the live as well. Show some love. What's up? What is it? The Wheeze?
Fee Weeze. My bad, bro. Fee Weeze. No, you know what? I just wanted to tap in and say, bro, I completely agree with you. The UK is fallen. It is bad. It's like ridiculous. So without question, the US is ahead of us and they're doing better.
I mean, what has happened to the UK, in my personal opinion, this is what socialism does. Now, I'm not saying that socialism doesn't have good things about it. I'm just saying that I think long term it's unsustainable. It causes other externalities in society when everybody is dependent on the government. So that to me is one of the main reasons why the UK is in the state that it's in, because everybody is too dependent on the government. And that's really the long and short of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think ultimately we've become very dependent on the government. We've got into a place where we are living in a situation where everything's too high. The interest rates is too high. Inflation's gone crazy. People can't buy a house. Houses are too small. We have an immigrant issue, which I don't want to go too deep into. It's not the immigrants' fault, but we have a bunch of problems. We have every problem the US has, but taken to another level.
Yeah, sadly. And then in addition, lower wages, worse health services, more dependence on the state, services. Smaller country, less reversibility for these issues. All of the issues in the USA are generally reversible. In fact, you see the USA pretty much change course every 4 years when the election happens. The UK has been on the same slow economic and social decline for the past 20 years. And everybody seems to be blaming something different. Some people are blaming the Tories, some people are blaming Labour, some people are blaming... And the reality is we just live in a stagnant country. And I think updating to a more American style of governance would help us.
Yeah, 100%. It's so bad. The sad thing about being in the UK, obviously, right now we're dealing with this whole digital ID thing. Everyone's saying no. I don't know. Are you still in the States at the minute, or are you back in?
I'm back in the UK.
You're back in the UK. So you're probably seeing the same things: digital ID, this, that, and the third. All these things. They're gonna track everything you do. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's just. I don't understand. Like, I want to know what people think, because I remember before when people would say this stuff about digital ID, everyone would say, "Oh, it's conspiracy theory." So I wonder what people think about it. It's not like Sage. I want to know what you think. What do you think about the fact that the UK is bringing in digital ID? Do you think that that's normal? Or, yeah, it's interesting. He's saying speak to Dean Withers or Parker. Both of those two people are profoundly unintelligent people. So
I think I just want to throw my last 2 cents in. Depends on how long you want to keep me up here. But I think the digital ID is blatant totalitarianism. And it's obvious that that's what they're trying to do. That's the direction they're trying to go in. I know some places in Europe have it. I know China has it. But the places in Europe they've had no intention to go into people's bank accounts and be overly invasive.
I heard about
the
that.
UK will.
Yeah, I heard about them announcing that. I think it's HMRC is going to start tracking people's bank accounts and their expenditure to ensure that they're paying the right amount of tax. They're doing a tax raid on UK bank accounts.
Tracking bank accounts to make sure you're paying the right amount of tax. Looking at just madness, man. It's crazy. We're going down the toilet. It's like they want to kill your entrepreneur spirit in this country.
Well, there's an inherent belief by many people in this country, particularly the political left, that it is wrong to have anything privatized. And with that belief, there's an inference that the private citizen should not be able to do what they want if it's not harming others. nay, they believe that the state should have the right to interfere with the finances, the liberties, etc. of the private citizen to ensure that they do not hold beliefs antithetical to the religion of modern leftism, like being racist or, again, like having too much economic freedom such that you are out competing everyone. Oh no, we need to tax that away from you. So the leftists have an inherent reliance on the state. Their ideology necessitates the state interfering into private life, and obviously that makes sense as to why they think privatization is inherently bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, the problem, the biggest issue is like what you say in the left. The left itself is not even a real thing. The left is a group of ideas that don't actually work together, but they still believe that they're in cohesion. So you have a bunch of people that want to be socialist, communist. You have a bunch of people that want to be kind of like emotionally supportive to every ethnic group. You have a bunch of people that want to abolish complete racism and abolish tribalism, but then you have multiculturalism that is failing. Then you have a bunch of things that just aren't working within our country. Even though the left believes it's one group, it believes it's one party, it believes it's one group of people. It's really not.
I don't know. I mean, I do consume some left-wing content, and they do seem to acknowledge that there is some kind of fractionalism on the political left as well. I mean, I don't think that they consider Labour to be the political left, but then you've got more defining movements that are quintessentially leftist, like the New Left movement of the 90s and the early 2000s. So I think we can define what the left is, but I don't think that they all are all of the same opinion. Yes, there is some disparity in the different positions that they hold, but generally speaking, I think they will be characterized by people who want the state to interfere with people's lives to try to enforce or to try to foster equality, whatever that means, in society, and essentially they are trying to pursue this end of everybody being equal, and I think that's what characterizes them in general.
I think you've got a good take on it. The only issue is in America, the left and the right is obvious. Over here, it's a little bit more difficult.
I think all the political parties in the UK are left wing, in my personal opinion. Maybe not economically left wing, but socially, I would say they are.
Socially, what they seem to socially gravitate towards does seem a lot more left wing. But I also think that's because the UK is much smaller. Like, I swear the UK is smaller than California.
I think it's because what happens over time is that what is considered left becomes more mainstream. So, for example, 30 years ago, if you were pro-LGBT rights, then you would be considered on the left. But now, majority of people are pro-LGBT rights. And so when you say, well, this makes us left-wing, they're like, no, that's just normal. You understand? So it always shifts what it means to be like. So that when I say that I think that the UK is generally a left-wing country, I'm more speaking about it compared to itself in the past and it compared to other countries in the world. But a lot of the left-wing people, they are typically comparing it to their idealistic fantasy of what perfect leftism would be. So they're like, we're not leftist because it's not the perfect fantasy that I imagine in my mind.
Yeah, but you're still leftist.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, it is Overton window, but I'm just such a played out term. I just was deliberately avoiding using it.
Anyway, bro, on that note, I'm gonna jump off the live. Thank you, bro. It was fantastic.
Yep. Take care, mate. Nice speaking to you.
Big up. Have a good one. Bless.
All right, let's get somebody else up. We got, what is it, Pazuzu? Luke has been spamming this comment. You say worse health services, but you're paying 5k for an ambulance. What's your thoughts on that? We'll get to that. One sec. Let me just speak to Pazuzu. What's up, Pazuzu? I think we spoke before. Oh, he's dropped down. Okay, so yes, the health services in the USA are objectively better. They have better medical technology, better screening services. They have better doctors. They have better hospitals. They have lower waiting times. It is more expensive though, but overall, it's not actually super unaffordable for majority of US citizens. It should be cheaper, but it's better in quality than the UK's health service. I hope that makes more sense to you. What's up, Freestars?
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, I'm good.
So you're in the UK at the minute, so it's 9 p.m. for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, I want to touch on the healthcare thing very quickly and give my opinion.
Okay.
Because I mean, the US spends double per person on healthcare compared to the UK, but it still achieves a worse life expectancy, a higher maternal mortality, and it also has a higher rate of avoidable deaths. And like when you look at cross-country studies, um, consistently the UK will place above the US, and often the US ranks last among the peer nations, while the UK normally sits near the top.
Have
In
you
the
seen
UK,
Have you seen many of these studies?
one of them is called the Commonwealth Study
I've seen
2024.
that one. So have you noticed how in that study they rank things like accessibility and time spent
And that
dealing
is
with
extremely
hold
important.
on and time spent dealing with healthcare bills as factors. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have.
Don't you think that's
But
an
also,
inherent bias towards a socialist system?
no, not really.
You don't think it's an inherent bias to have? I think there was like 5 ranking factors, and like 3 of them relate to how accessible it is. God knows how they're defining accessibility, and also
Accessibility is if it's accessible for things with like disabled people, if there is enough advocates,
I'm
like
assuming they
train
mean accessibility in
services.
terms of
So
the
like how
percentage of the
accessible is it to
population that
actually
can.
get to a hospital?
No, I think they mean accessibility. I get that definition of accessibility, but I think that they mean accessibility in terms of the percentage of the population that could theoretically have access to the system. The problem is with the UK is they
Yeah, so you're
say it's accessible for everyone, but in reality it's actually not. So is it really fair to judge it as accessible when it's actually not accessible because 10% of people have to wait for an extended period of time in order to even use it? That's not real accessibility. So the problem is a lot of these studies are inherently biased towards socialized healthcare systems.
even if you point out the NHS waiting lists, or maybe even if you point out it's underfunded, the counter is clear that despite that, there is still better outcomes overall for less money.
What
Also,
outcomes are you talking about?
the types of outcomes that are stated in that study, like life expectancy, infant mortality
Yeah,
rate, maternity mortality
life
rate.
expectancy is different by 2 years, and the life expectancy difference can be accounted for by the difference in demographics in the UK and the USA. So there's that, and then there's also the fact that life expectancy is not just determined by the quality of a healthcare system, it's also determined by the quality of food, the lifestyle of the individuals in the society,
Yeah,
again,
that's another big
demographics.
thing.
So
Like your food over
argument
there is
that
not
what is
good.
your argument that the lower life expectancy is being caused by the healthcare system in the USA?
And well, there's multiple factors, but that's also a part of why your country is slightly worse off.
No, tell me why you believe that the reason why there's a 2-year life expectancy difference in the between the USA and the UK.
Specifically.
Well, that is the difference in life expectancy. So tell me why you believe the lower life expectancy in the USA is directly because of the healthcare system.
I'm not saying I never said it was directly because. I'm
Okay.
just saying that's part of the. It's a symptom for it. It's part of the symptom.
I disagree. I think that it can easily be explained through demographics if you study the different demographics in the USA and the UK. But and quite frankly, like just that alone would pretty much even out the UK's and USA's life expectancy. So you wouldn't even have a difference that you would need to analyze.
The USA's health
once you
system
account
does
for demographics.
exclude millions of people, but you say people don't actually have access to the NHS and free healthcare. What do you mean by that?
They have theoretical access to it, but they end up having to wait significantly longer to access healthcare than US citizens do.
So, but you've just realised that you said they have to wait longer to access, so you've acknowledged that they still access it, it just takes longer.
That's the inherent problem with defining something as being accessed if you didn't actually access it. Can you not see the issue there? That you are saying we accessed the healthcare, but you didn't access it.
Well, yeah, I had an accident not that long ago, and I had to wait a little bit for an ambulance because it wasn't necessarily an emergency. and then I had to wait a few hours in A&E to see a doctor, and then I seen the doctor, and I got sent on my way. I got the access.
I'm not talking
I
about
got the help that
emergency
I
waiting
needed
times. I'm
still.
talking about the waiting times for elective surgeries, etc. So, again, if that would obviously be a long waiting time for like an emergency room, but they have long waiting times in USA emergency rooms as well. The emergency room is typically a high intensity environment where a lot of people have to wait, etc. I'm talking about people actually getting mainstream normal healthcare. They wait much longer for it in the UK.
Yeah, but also you could argue that people in America, when they do have a more minor injury, they don't go in for it because they know it's going to cost money. Like the amount of people who break their bones but don't call an ambulance or don't even bother going to the hospital. They just either click it back into place themselves or they just say, oh, it'll be fine, until they absolutely have to.
You think people click their bones back into place when they break their bones? That'll be somewhat of an arcane society, do you not think?
It was an example.
See, this is what I mean when I say a lot of people have delusional beliefs about how America is. So if you...
No, I'm not going to lie to you. That was me pushing it to an extreme. But to get my point across is that people will hold off accessing healthcare services even if they think they may need it because of how expensive it is. And you say it's not that expensive, but I feel like that's also
I didn't say it's
heavily
not that
reliant
expensive.
if you're insured properly and your job and how much money you make.
I didn't say it's not that expensive. But the reality is that I think you're assuming that more Americans can't afford healthcare than actually the reality. Like
the fact that some
hold on
healthcare to begin with is an issue.
Hold on. There will necessarily be some people that may avoid accessing healthcare because they don't want to pay. What percentage of the population do you think that is?
I'm not sure.
Don't you think that matters? Because you see, one of the major problems with this debate when you talk about UK and USA is I don't think that UK citizens understand just how much richer US citizens are than UK citizens. So they talk about things being more expensive, but they don't ever talk about the fact that Americans can generally afford those things. We couldn't afford those things if they cost that much for us, but Americans generally can afford those things. And you can look at the data shows this, like the average family income is much higher, the average net worth. By the time people are in their late adulthood or even mid-adulthood, the difference in net worth is in the hundreds of thousands different between the average US citizen and the average UK citizen on average. Now that's a mean average, but the median average is also significantly different. Sage460 says cost of living. Yes, the cost of living is also factored in when you do use metrics like discretionary income, and the discretionary income is still much higher than UK. So again, people want to excuse away this wealth disparity, but the reality is that wealth disparities are one of the driving forces in a country being more successful than another. Like if you look at the difference between the UK and let's say the outcomes in a country like, I don't know, let's say Egypt, right? Most of the differences in outcomes will be because of the wealth disparity, will be because UK citizens are generally richer than the average Egyptian. So people like to rely on the wealth disparity when they're saying, oh, well, this is why UK is the developed nation. This is why UK citizens are successful compared to other countries. But then when we apply the same logic with US citizens compared to UK, people say, oh, well, you know, but what about inequality? But what about this? But in reality, the metrics show that US citizens are faring much better than UK citizens.
Also, as well, I'm looking up did you mention a statistic about the amount of adults that don't get healthcare or don't?
No, I asked you what percentage of people do you think hold off going to the hospital because they can't afford it? I was just asking you to guess.
Well, I didn't have a guess at the time, and I found answers now, so I presume it's somewhere between, I want to say 16 to 40%.
16 to 40%. Okay. So if the majority of people in the USA, the vast majority of people, have private health insurance, that would essentially mean that a hospital visit for them it's probably going to cost them between $0 and maybe a few $100s, maybe $100 to $200, something like that. So do you not think that the average American can afford like $100 hospital visit?
I'm not saying that they can't afford it. I'm sure they can. And we have a sort of similar thing here in the UK because you can have private healthcare, of course. Normally that is through your job, though. Still,
No, here,
it
if you have
is
private healthcare, it's typically not through your job. It can be through your job, but
okay. Well, everyone who I know who has private healthcare has it through their job.
okay, that may be so.
But what is it? And like when they go there, I mean, obviously insurance will pay for a bit of it and it will cover some of it. But I mean, if they have an hour meeting or appointment with a cardiologist, for example, that's going to be £100, and that's not terrible. It's not a lot, and the care is better because you're having a more intensive thing. But also, if the NHS is your only option, that is the best. And if you're in that critical position and you can't pay for it, they will give you the best care possible.
So do you think that the quality of healthcare is better in the UK than the USA?
In what sense? Like outcome or?
The quality, like the healthcare experience that you have, the scans that you get, the robustness of the procedures. Like, do you think that the quality of healthcare is better in the UK or in the USA?
I will say potentially.
You're taking too long. Okay, it's been nice
Yeah.
speaking to you. I'm going to drop you down because you seem... I think you did a good job in terms of expressing your opinion, so I appreciate that. But maybe look into it more. I don't know. I'll get somebody that may be a bit, I guess, more qualified, if that's the right word to debate. I don't know. I don't even like that word. What's up, Fikayo?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I disagree with your statement that the US is better than the UK for a lot of reasons.
Okay.
So first of all, the main reason is the US government has literally shut down because they've run out of money.
Because they run out of money?
Second reason is that, I mean, that's basically what a shutdown is, but let me just finish
They shut
my
down
point.
because they ran out of
Second
money.
reason-
Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that. But
I'm asking.
Can I please finish my points?
I'm just clarifying
I
what
didn't
you're
say
saying.
that.
Are you... Okay. Can you just repeat it again so I understand?
So is it true? So you're saying that the US government has not shut down?
No, you said something like they shut down because they didn't have enough money. I was just clarifying what you were saying.
They shut down and they've run out of money, basically.
Okay,
is
so
what
you
I'm
think
saying.
they've run out of money? Okay, go on.
Second of all, they have something that they're codified, which means that their constitution is written down as very hard to change, which is why stuff like gun laws, unfortunately, is really, really hard to change. Here in the UK, we have an uncodified constitution, meaning that laws can be changed a lot easier. Third of all is the gun laws. It's a lot safer here than it is in the US. I'm not saying the UK is perfect. We definitely have our issues, but definitely not as bad as the US. Fourth of all is that because of the way the US is, they have different laws depending on the states, so it makes it hard. For example, Arizona has different states to, I don't know, other places in the US. UK, we don't have that. The whole country has to follow the same laws. Fifth of all is it's just less of a mess than the US is right now.
So when you mentioned the codified constitution, do you realize that that's only certain laws that can't be changed? There are laws that can be changed, but they can't change certain laws.
I'm aware, but
so why is that?
I'm aware,
why is it bad
even
that people have?
The certain rules, for example, as I said, one of them is the gun laws.
Yes.
A lot of people complain that the US with the whole gun problem, and the reason why it can't really be sorted is because it's one of the amendments, and that is very hard to change when it's literally written down. And because of the codified constitution, it's not as easy just to change that.
Well, theoretically, it
saying.
could be
So
changed for a
because
constitutional amendment, but the US citizens don't want to change that law because it would be stupid to change that law.
it's just not as easy as
It's not that
you think, because
they
it's
want to change
wait.
it and they can't. It's that they don't want to change it. Neither Democrats nor
No,
Republicans
it's because
want.
it's hard. Do you know what a codified
I know what a codified constitution
constitution
is,
is?
and I'm
Can you tell
explaining
me?
to you that it means that it's inalienable. It means that it's part of the legal structure, as opposed to the UK, which has common law precedent, case law precedent. So the constitution in the UK is a de facto constitution made up by case law precedent, whereas the constitution in the USA is a codified. It's more about the law that has been written down formally. So that's the difference. But do you realize that it's only some laws that can't be changed, and those are the laws in the Constitution, and that gives citizens in the United States inalienable rights, and that's a good thing. And those laws, vast majority of people in the USA do not want to change those laws. Even the Democrats don't want to change the Second Amendment. Democrats.
Hold on, let me just
Yeah.
hold on. Let me just get a source up. Keep talking, but I'm just gonna go and get a source up.
Yeah, Democrats don't want to change the Second Amendment. They typically want things like universal background checks. Sometimes they want certain firearms to be less accessible. But the vast majority of Americans do not want to change the U.S. Constitution. In fact, I feel like I got a bogey, and it's really pissing me off. In fact, one of the main critiques that people will bring that Democrats will bring against Trump is that he violates the Constitution. And one of the main critiques that Republicans bring against Democrats is that they want to act in violation of the Constitution. So neither side wants to change the Constitution. So I don't know why you think it's a bad thing that the Constitution can't be changed. In fact, the laws in the Constitution, I think, should function as the basis of modern law in every country in the world. A lot of the things in the Constitution are, to me, they're self-evident and obvious.
So I've just done literally a very quick Google search, and there have been polls on how many Democrats actually want to change gun laws, and a lot more than you think do want to change gun laws.
Tell me the numbers that want to change gun laws.
Okay, cool. Hold on.
Because remember, there's a difference between wanting to change gun laws and wanting to change the Second Amendment. Right?
So a study showed that 71% of Democrats actually wanted to change the gun laws. And with your logic, the only way we can change the gun laws is by changing the Constitution.
No, they want to change the
All
gun.
I'm saying
No,
is
that's
we're
wrong.
kind of
No. That's completely wrong.
I mean, it's literally
No,
the source.
you're wrong, because you
But
don't
my
understand
point is,
how
we're kind
the
of getting
US
off
system works.
topic.
Hold on, that's you not understanding how the US system works. So they don't wanting to change gun laws doesn't mean they want to change the Constitution. It could mean that they want to change.
No, I never said that.
Hold on. It could mean that they want to change gun laws at a state level, or it could mean that they still want the Second Amendment, but they want the Second Amendment to be interpreted or implemented differently. The vast majority of Americans do not want to get rid of the Second Amendment.
Okay, so let me just touch on that. In order to get rid of gun laws, like we've said, you would have to change the amendments because it's a codified constitution.
That's not true.
And what?
You obviously don't.
Okay,
do you know
so
the
how
difference
do you-
between the Constitution and state law?
Yes, I do. I literally
Okay,
did
so
context.
if you want to change state laws, does that mean that you want to change the Constitution?
No, but what
Okay.
I'm saying, because gun laws is one of the amendments, and it's written in the Constitution, because it's codified, that's how you would go about changing it. You
That's
can't
not
just,
true.
that's what I'm saying.
That's not
What
true.
I'm saying is hard. It's hard
You
to
see,
get
the
rid
problem
of
is
guns.
I'm telling you something that I know for a fact, but you're not assimilating information, even though you seem unsure about what you're saying. So you should try to assimilate this information I'm about to give you. You don't have to change the Constitution in order to change gun laws. And nobody is advocating for the Second Amendment to get rid of. Of course, there will be a few people, but you don't have to change the Constitution. You don't have to do a constitutional amendment in order to have gun laws changed. And you can actually see states like New York, Massachusetts, California, they have stricter gun laws, and they would argue that they're not acting in contravention of the Constitution, you'd have to get one of their lawyers to speak to you about that. But you don't have to change the Constitution in order to change gun laws.
Okay, so
Democrats don't
we
want to
in a-
change the Constitution. They just want more requirements and checks for people and for them to eventually get the gun. They don't necessarily want people to
okay,
not
hold
be
on.
allowed to have
Let me
guns.
just clarify this. The US has a codified constitution, meaning that all the amendments are literally written in one place. It's really hard to change it because it's literally written down. One of the amendments is the right to own a gun. Okay? So, therefore, because it's written down, it's
Why
not
is
as
everything I'm
easy
saying not
to just
entering into
change it.
your
No, because you're not
head?
you're not even listening to what I'm saying, because this is facts. This is out there. You know this because you know that we have a constitution. The US has a codified constitution. So I'm a bit confused why you're not really getting it.
I am getting
is
it.
what I'm
It's
trying
you
to
that's
say.
not getting it. I've explained multiple times
No,
to you
because if you
that it has a
get it, you wouldn't be having this.
it has a codified constitution, but you don't have to
Right.
change that codified constitution in order to change gun laws at a state level or even at a federal level. You can change they want to change gun laws. That doesn't mean they want to get rid of the Second Amendment. They don't have to think carefully. They don't have to change the Second Amendment to change the gun laws. Do you understand that?
Okay, either way, we're getting off topic. Let's just.
What do you
mean?
What do you mean we're getting off topic? How are we talking in circles?
Because the question
Oh, you're like
is,
one of those
the
gaslighting
US
women
is
that, like,
better than
when
the
you
UK.
realize you're wrong, you start saying like, "Oh, we're getting off topic" and all this stuff. Like,
No,
that's
you're
weird.
the
That's one of
people
my
who tried
triggers.
to get off topic.
We're not off
You're one of the
topic.
people that try to get off topic. We are off topic because I don't know why we're.
How
talking
can you
about
tell me that we're off
guns and
topic?
Blah, blah, when the question is the US is better.
Explain
Than the UK.
how we're off topic.
Are you not? Did you not just listen to what?
No,
I
no.
just said?
Explain how
Literally
we're off
just now,
topic.
or what?
So you're saying talking about
Because
gun
we-
laws is off topic?
Are you just gonna allow me to speak or what?
Yes,
You're
I will give you
asking me-
license to speak now. You may speak.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm so
Because
benevolent.
you literally said we're literally talking about whether gun laws can be like whether we need to go to the codified constitution or state law. That's not the question. The question is the UK or is the US better than the UK? That's the question.
Can you not see how it's relevant that the US is better than the UK
It's
because
relevant,
it
but that was
has
not my main point.
because it
But
has
that was not my main point.
your point
was not my
was
main point.
your point was
That was one of my points. It was not my main point.
yeah, but your point that means it is relevant because your entire point is having a codified constitution that's difficult to change.
It wasn't
means
my main point.
Let me finish. Your point was having a codified constitution that's difficult to change means that gun laws can't be changed, which is a reason why the UK is better than the USA. That's
And
exactly
that was
what you
one
said.
of my points.
That's why
I
we're
said
not
about
off topic
10
because I'm
points.
explaining to you that point is
Okay,
wrong
I'm trying
because
to
you
get
don't
on
need to
another
change
topic.
the
I'm trying to get
constitution.
one of my other. Okay.
So do you
If you're-
concede that you were wrong about that?
No, I'm literally trying to
Oh,
explain my
okay.
other points, and you just can't move from this one
Because
point. I'm a bit confused.
you're falsely alleging that
because
we're off
I've said
topic to
about 10
mitigate
points,
responsibility
and I'm
with
asking,
respect to the
can
fact
we
that
go
you're
back
wrong.
to my points so that I can continue. But you're not trying to do that. You're trying to keep on this same argument.
I
I'm
would be
trying
happy
say,
to
can we
move
go
on
back to
if
one
you
of my
would.
10 points?
I would be happy to move on if you would say something
My
like,
gosh.
"I concede that I was wrong about needing to change the constitution to change
And
gun
why
laws,"
would I say
and
that
then
when
we
I
would be
don't
able to move
believe
on
in it?
because that's a
No,
good
why would
faith
I say
discussion.
that? Why
Because
would I
that's
say
how
that?
people who
Why
are
would I say
who
that?
are arguing in
Why
good
would I say
faith
that? If I don't
act.
believe that, why would I say that?
That's how
If I
people who are
don't
not
believe that, why
ignorant
would I say
act.
that? If I don't believe that, why would I say that?
You don't believe it because you're ignorant.
Okay, mate.
Yes.
Okay. If that's what you believe, I don't know what to say to you.
It's
mate.
self-evident
whole-
that you
is the-
you
the
have
whole
you hold
US is
you hold
better
an
than the
incorrect
UK is
belief
ignorant,
with respect
mate.
to how
So I
the
don't know what
US
to
system
say.
works.
I don't know what to
You've
say.
been corrected about
don't know
that
what to
belief
say.
multiple times.
Okay, mate.
And
Okay.
instead of just saying, "Oh,
Are we
I didn't
gonna
know
move on or
that,"
what?
and then moving on,
Are we
you're
gonna
trying
move
to
on or
say,
what?
"Oh, we're off
Are we
topic," and
gonna
then you
move
start
on?
being rude and
Oh
all this
wait,
stuff.
are we gonna move on?
We'll
gonna
move
move
on when I'm good and ready, darling.
Okay, so when you're ready, don't call me darling. When you're ready.
We'll move on when I'm good and ready, darling.
When are you ready? I'll wait. I've got time.
Okay, you
Not
keep
gonna-
waiting there, yeah?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you wait. You keep waiting.
So I've
What's
never
up,
met
Shah?
before. This is exciting. Okay, so I just wanted to jump in, like respectfully, and say that I just moved back to the UK after living in the States for over 6 years, and I had a family there, worked there, made a whole life there. Came back by choice because I missed the UK, and I feel that it's all subjective to your experiences. UK versus US, obviously.
Yeah.
So I had a very good job in the States. I was making like $27 an hour, so it's over £20 an hour, which I feel like is decent. Above, like it was above minimum, like above average wage for where I was living in the South.
Right.
And after paying my mortgage, bills, gas, etc., I still struggled with groceries every week because you're talking $12 for eggs, $7 for bread, $6 for strawberries. Like the things we take for granted in the UK, where you can buy a pound for a bag of
That
potatoes.
sounds like you live in the Northeast.
$7.
Do you live in the Northeast?
I was living in the South. I was in North Carolina, which is one of the cheapest
interesting.
states. Yeah, it's one of, the South is much cheaper than up north.
The cost of living in North Carolina, I think, is not. Where do you live now in the UK?
I'm in Suffolk,
Okay.
so southeast,
What city is it, if you don't mind?
where I live, Bury St Edmunds.
Okay, Bury. Carry on.
You're fine. So, I was just saying, and like I had lots of friends who earned a lot less than I did, and they really struggled. They went to food banks. So that side, like while I was living, and I lived in a fairly nice neighborhood. It's a middle class neighborhood, but I had been in the 6 years I'd been there.
Wait, sorry.
I'd been-
One other thing.
Oh, I'm
I'm still
sorry.
listening. What city in North Carolina did you live in? Was it Charlotte?
No, it was near Raleigh.
Raleigh. Okay.
Yeah, it was near Raleigh. It was like an hour from Raleigh.
Okay, cool.
But-
Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, fine. But yeah, so where I lived, I had been harassed in the streets, followed home. I had a homeless guy kick my door in. There was a lot of crime. I actually worked employing felons as a last chance employer, and I met 20 odd felons a day. So that's another huge thing. I think because there's Medicaid, there's EBT, there's food stamps, but people struggle to afford the bare minimum, like groceries. Things like cigarettes and alcohol, much cheaper. Drugs, you can get them everywhere. But groceries themselves, vegetables, fruits, like people struggle to afford those. So people resort to crime.
So your
And to grow up
argument
in it.
is your argument about the affordability. You think that it's more affordable to live in the UK, or are you just saying it's more affordable for
Absolutely.
you?
No, definitely more affordable to live in the UK.
But are you saying for you, or do you think it's more affordable for everybody?
From my experience personally, and like my friends and everything, for pretty much everybody. I mean, you're talking like in the States, doesn't matter what city you're in, north, south, you've got so many homeless people on every corner begging for cash. The Salvation Armies are turning people away because they don't have beds, they don't have enough to feed them.
But the homelessness rate is higher in the UK, and the affordability for US citizens is higher. Like US citizens are richer than UK citizens. So even if your personal
Not
experience,
everywhere.
sorry,
Not everywhere, because
overall.
obviously the big cities, you've got a lot of money in the big cities. You've got a lot of people because that's where the jobs are.
But that's the same
But-
with every country. But
course.
overall, US citizens can afford their life easier than UK citizens can.
I do disagree with that.
I mean, are you
Just from my
disagreeing with
experience, I've
are you
seen.
disagreeing with the metrics that are measured yearly about disposable income, discretionary income, cost of living? Are you disagreeing with those metrics?
But you've also got to realize that that America is absolutely humongous compared to England. England is very small. So what statistics you're
the
going?
size of the country doesn't have anything to do with the average discretionary income in the USA versus the UK. It is quite. I mean, the USA citizens are pretty much, out of anyone in the world, the people that can afford their life the most because they have the highest discretionary income pretty much in the entire world. So there is pretty much nowhere in the world on average, where a citizen can afford their lifestyle better than the USA?
The middle class and up, possibly, but like there's millions of people who don't fall into that category who
Well,
are.
that point is raised a lot, as if there is an inequality in the UK
No, of course
also.
there is.
But the fact of the matter is that the Telegraph just did an article on this, and this is what I've been saying for the past year. The Telegraph just did an article, and the only percentile where US citizens are poorer than UK citizens is the bottom 10% in terms of income level. Now, you could argue that when you account for cost of living, it might be a higher percentile, but definitely you're talking about the bottom 20% of society at the most that are poorer than the bottom 20% of UK citizens. But what about the 80%?
I mean, I mean, if you're if you're above poverty, really in any country, I mean, I don't even know how to word it, but like, yeah, you're going to have a much better life, but you have to consider those people too.
No, you can consider
And
that. You can consider them,
amount of
but
people-
it doesn't make sense to only consider the people that are doing the worst if you're talking about how life is for the average person. You would have to
But-
also consider the people that are doing better.
So you've obviously spent a lot of time in the States, right? You visited, you traveled around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in England, okay, so when you go to like a large city like Hull or Cambridge, you have, you've got a couple tents, you've got a couple people in the streets. And then you go to America and you go to any Walmart and you've got, I can't even count them on my hands, the amount of people out there begging or sleeping on the streets or stealing from Walmart.
I didn't see a single homeless person when I went to North Carolina.
In North Carolina, where did you go?
Charlotte.
You went to Charlotte, like in the city?
Yeah, I was in Charlotte.
Okay, where the Salvation Armies are, the homeless shelters, like where
But-
people
but there's-
are to those places, not to the outskirts where the trailer parks are, or like with the actual like.
So do you think
designers.
that there's more homeless people in the USA than the UK?
1,000%, 1,000%.
But the UK is experiencing the worst housing crisis in its history. And I think the homelessness rate is significantly higher than it is in the USA. Now, granted,
But that is
in the big cities,
of-
in the big cities, you will see more visible homelessness because it's a big city, and the USA has more big cities. But obviously, there are also vast swaths of the United States that have, like, again, I was staying in Greenville, South Carolina. I also did not see a single homeless person. I didn't even see, I think I saw one piece of litter the entire trip. So
But not in the big cities. I'm just talking like outside of the big cities.
yes,
Like,
yes, but 50% of Americans also don't live in big cities. So you can account for what you see in big cities, but you also have to factor in what you see outside. And then you also have to think about what the big cities in the UK look like. So yes, I'm sure there is a homelessness problem in both countries. In fact, I know there is a homeless problem. New York's homelessness problem is completely off the chain. In fact, I would say New York has the worst homelessness I've ever seen. And I've not been to California, but I've never seen anywhere in the UK that was as bad as what I saw after sort of 9 p.m. in New York City. But that's not representative of the entire population.
no, I mean, we didn't say we were representing the entire nation. We just said, I mean, that's what we were talking about right now.
Oh, that's a good point. Pazuzu says she selected for a job that put her in contact with felons and homeless. Do you think there's some bias because of your job? What's your job?
No, I mean, so I was a last chance employer, so I would employ the
Right.
felons and
Exactly.
anybody who has criminal records.
So don't you think you'd be more likely to see homeless people?
Yes, but I was one of 6 companies that worked in that town that all did last chance employments.
Is that
and
what
I
you
met
is that what you do in the
every
UK?
No, not currently, no. But the fact that I met so many new people, and I'm talking like felons, like, like that's not like, I mean, I know the UK, we don't have that specifically, that title. But like, I'm talking like hardcore 20-year sentences, like gotten out and I'm trying to get jobs and stuff like that. And the fact that I met new people every day, so many in a small town, it was pretty sad in itself, because these people couldn't afford to they couldn't afford to, they get out quick and sure, but they got into that lifestyle because of how they were raised in poverty. Most of them, the majority of them can't speak. And then they would get out and they couldn't afford to live. They needed to get that job.
Yeah.
But just the sheer number, the volume of people, and you would never find that in the UK. I mean, you could download the Citizens app.
Well, I've just pulled up something here. It says the UK has a higher rate of homelessness than the US, with 1 in 160 people in England considered homeless in late 2024, compared to the US's 2023 count of 500,000 homeless people. So that'd be 500,000 out of 350 million. So you're talking about 0.1% versus what? Pretty much the same, right? It seems pretty similar.
How are they getting these numbers? Do you know what I mean? Like, are they going into the woods finding these? Because we had
It is difficult. It is
homeless
difficult when
encampments
you're
where people were not allowed to access without police supervision.
It is definitely difficult when you're talking about numbers like this. I will concede that. I don't know how else we can really measure it other than.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
I've got another
But
one here.
yeah,
Invisible
no, I mean-
people. UK surpasses US. This is another article. UK, so the lifetime literal rate of homelessness in the UK stands at 7.7%, which is higher than
You've
the United
also
States of
got to
America.
consider all the demographics of people that this is covering too, because I know the UK right now, there's that huge debate about, there always is, you've got legal immigrants, migrants, you've got illegal immigrants, are these being included in these numbers too? Because in England, you've got asylum seekers who probably aren't on those, like, are probably, they get, I don't know, do you know what I mean? When it comes to statistics, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm very tired. You can't class all these people because a lot of people aren't counted. So it's difficult when you're talking statistics.
Yeah, it
But
says
I'm only
here,
talking from
when
my
people talk about
experience.
homelessness in the so-called developed world, their minds often shift to California, New York City, and other places in the United States where we are undoubtedly dealing with an unprecedented homelessness crisis. But here's something that might surprise you. Statistically, there's even more homelessness in the UK. So someone raised a good point in the comments, which is that it could be because of how the UK defines homelessness. We've got here, the UK has double the homeless population of the US. So why does it seem so much worse in the US? Someone's commented, the homeless in the US tend to group together in certain cities. You won't see nearly as many homeless in the small towns and rural areas. Yes, so that's the position I take. I will concede that it's somewhat open-ended, and I'd be happy to be convinced either way. But I would be of the opinion that you see more visibility in certain cities because of how homeless people cluster. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had certain areas in my town, and I was outside of the city. I was an hour from the city, so I was what you would probably call in middle of nowhere. But we would have, we call them tent cities, they'd be set up, and there would be hundreds, and they would never know how many people were in there. It would change constantly because, a lot of homeless people travel. That's what they do. They have to go from one spot to another. They get kicked out. They go to another.
Yeah.
And you were just told not to go in those areas. Like, the police would not let you near those areas.
So you're
because-
saying they're hiding the homeless?
Yes. No, not the police, but the homeless themselves are hiding because they are targeted. So they do
Until
hide.
such time as they accrue a large enough army of homeless to take vengeance upon the population that disenfranchised them.
Sometimes, perhaps. But no, I did a lot of volunteer work and trying to, I used to make meals and deliver them with police.
Are you
Excuse.
a little bit of a bleeding heart?
Too much for my own good sometimes, not all the time, but because I did see a lot on the other end of that when I first got there. I fell for every story until I figured out that a lot of the homeless people weren't actually homeless. They just did that during the day to beg for money instead of working, but
Yeah, I
wherever you
think
go,
after a certain threshold of naivete, most people come to realize that they're kind of just exploiting. Some of them are exploiting people's generosity.
Absolutely. But no, you can continue and debate other people. I don't take your time. But no, I just want to jump in and say, I just think it is so subjective to your experience. Like I used to travel the States all the time. I'm a dual citizen. So I used to travel all the time. And what I saw traveling around and going on holidays was insanely different to when I actually moved there and set up an entire life and spent every single day in the same town. And then, the worms come out and you see everything as you do anywhere. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you speaking to me. Guys, I'm going to just drop you down. Guys, did you notice how Shah disagreed with me, but she was polite and respectful? I noticed 99% of the time when I get like the rude people with the attitude, it's typically BLK women. I'm still trying to examine this phenomenon and try to get some understanding as to why this is the case, because I'm led to believe that it's a stereotype, but yet it's something that I routinely encounter when doing this live. So if someone could explain to me why I'm constantly encountering these people, or if there's something wrong with my algorithm, that would be great. Because I know anyone who's seen my last few lives, you'll see the trend and pattern of the BLK women having really bad attitudes and shouting and insulting, and I'm trying to still figure out why that is the case. Because I do get left-wing YT women, but they typically don't behave like that. If someone could help me understand, that would be great. Real SN says free healthcare, free education, free housing if in need, good education, less guns, more safety. Some people have such a delusional idea of the UK. So you just think that everything in the UK is free and that makes it good, and whoop-de-doo, free healthcare, free education, free housing. Like, what world are you living in? Like, what's up, personal?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, I'd just like to say you've had so many delusional people on who haven't listened to what you said at all. And I think it's a bit embarrassing from them. So, yeah, and well done for sticking up for yourself as well, like telling them, to listen and all that sort of stuff. But the point I'm going to ask about is what's the TikTok friendly word for firearms?
Gun.
Oh, is that calm?
I don't know. Saying pew pew just seems super cringe.
Yeah. I'll just say firearm. Yeah.
You're a non-news says boy got his feelings hurt by some rude black woman. They don't hurt my feelings. I know how to deal with black women. I have a black girlfriend, and all my family members are black, so I know how to deal with black women. I'm just noting the behavior that they seem to express on my lives in particular. Now, it could be that I am attracting that kind of energy, but all I'm doing is expressing something that I'm witnessing. Sorry, you go on, personal.
No, it's all good, mate. So in terms of firearms, right? Surely you'd say that the UK is doing better with firearms than the US.
What do you mean by doing better? I don't think you're doing better when you can be in prison for possession of a firearm. That's ridiculous to me.
Well, you can't, though. There's over 1.5 million registered firearms and over
It's
600,000.
automatic 5 years in prison for possession of a firearm in the UK if you don't have a license for a firearm, and you can't carry a firearm. You can't use a firearm for self-defense. To me, that's ridiculous and tyrannical. In fact, I would only live in a country, personally speaking, I feel that it only makes sense to live in a country where you are able to use firearms for self-defense in the modern world.
Well, one sec, my girlfriend's calling.
Okay. User962 says, make sure you get your firearms when you move to the States. Of course. I've been practicing a lot with just like a Smith & Wesson 9mm because I just wanted to keep it simple. Like, I'm one of these people that I have like an addictive personality. So like, I'll get one thing and then I'll just bang it out constantly. So as soon as I picked my 9, I'm just like, this is my 9. That's it. I'm not gonna, because I was like, why would I want to? I know there's a saying that you guys say, like, it's better, like, you trust the person who's shot the same gun 10 million times more than the person that shot every gun. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to be the person that can shoot the same gun accurately 10 million times. You know what I'm saying? So I just decided, let me just pick a 9 because it's just a good balance. You know what I mean? Although a lot of people tell me that 22s are actually better to carry. I know there's like a debate about it, but people tell me like 22s are better because you can just like fire off more rounds accurately in a short amount of time in terms of like the recoil and stuff like that. But yeah, then other people say it's a pea shooter. But I've heard people make legitimate arguments for a 22 to just be like a better thing to carry. But I don't know. I personally would carry a 9, and I know most people say a 9's better to carry. But again, like I'm saying, I've heard legitimate arguments. 9s have more stopping power, exactly. Charge It says bro's gonna come back to Arch Train cause havoc. Nah. See, that's the thing about the UK is like there's no way around it. Like you can't be that vagabond. You know, you can't. No citizen in the entire UK can wake up and go, do you know what? I'm gonna take total accountability for my own life, defend my own self, and live completely devoid of government interference. No one can do that. Because you need to rely on the police to defend you. Simple. So like, that's a dream kill for me. Okay. And I know some people think that Americans are fanatical about guns, but I almost see it as a form of I almost see it as like an etiquette. It's like you are so invested in the idea of freedom that you have actually allowed something to permeate your culture where the average person even understands the differences between guns and calibers and stuff. I think that that's a great cultural phenomenon. What's up, Miss Bretty?
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, I've never ever done this before. Sorry. I just came across you.
She said she never done this before. Oh, I could tell she's a very good liar.
I am. But I've lived in the UK in fucking Grimsby.
Oh my
5
God.
years. Yeah, I moved from Los Angeles to Grimsby for 5 years.
Wait, sorry, I'm
real,
going to interrupt you a little bit right now, but I have to ask.
Uh-huh.
Did you fall for that whole thing about UK's better, Trump is literally going to be Hitler, I need to move to another country?
No,
Okay.
homie. No. Not like that.
Okay.
I was living my life in Pasadena, to be specific. I don't know if you're familiar with Los Angeles.
Lots of
Pasadena.
Mexicans in Pasadena.
Well, my kids are half Mexican, so yes, they are.
I love Mexicans. Soy mexicano de corazón.
Yes, I apparently do too. I have 3 kids that are half Mexican.
You really like Mexicans.
Well, yeah. Anyways. I understand a lot of what you're saying, but there is no way that the US is better than the UK. Like there's no way. And my kids, and I'm not talking about the bigger issues, but as a mom with 3 kids, and I raise 3 kids that are English, half Jamaican as well.
Wait,
apparently my husband
are you
and I don't
Jamaican?
really like white people. We just like, I don't know how we ended up together. He likes Jamaican women. I like Mexicans.
Wait, are you
Whatever, we're
Jamaican?
together now. So I was married to a Mexican. I have 3 half Mexican kids.
Right.
My husband now was with a Jamaican woman. He's got 3 half white, half Jamaican kids.
So this is a second husband?
Yes, is my second husband.
Oh, okay. So you got a Brady
bunch. And now
bunch.
we're together, and we have 6 kids in our home.
Yeah.
Half of them are half white, half Mexican, half white, half Jamaican. And we live in Grimsby.
Oh my God.
You couldn't get any shittier in England, really.
So you live in Grimsby, but you still think that the UK is better? I would think that your experience in Grimsby would make you. So you think Grimsby is better than Pasadena?
For the quality of life, like simple things, like
wow.
In Pasadena, I had a good paying job, right? I make a quarter of the money I did there, but I'm fine. Like we don't get any benefits because I'm American, nothing like that. We do fine. My kids are looked after. They still get what they need. My kids can walk around. In Pasadena, they could not.
But why did you not just move to a different state instead of moving to the UK?
oh, well, that's my husband's kids didn't have passports and their biological mom wouldn't let them leave the country.
So you had no choice.
Well, to be fair, we started off in Oxford. We chose to move to Grimsby.
This is an interesting story, because I would posit that with your 6 kids, you could probably move to somewhere in the USA that you'd enjoy much more. I'm still confused at what you think is better about the UK. You clearly stated that you took a pay cut to where your salary is a quarter of the salary.
Yeah.
So what are you saying that you prefer having less money?
No, no one prefers having less money. I'm saying with less money, my wage in America, I could not get by with what I do here.
But you lived in California. That's the most expensive. Pretty much, that's like the 3rd most expensive state, isn't it, or 2nd most? Why didn't you just move to a different state?
Born and raised. That's all I ever knew.
Yeah, but why didn't you move to a different state?
Well, because my English stepkids couldn't move to that state.
That's what I'm saying. So this is not necessarily because you chose to move to the UK. It's because you kind of had no choice. If you actually had a choice, you would probably be able to compare a different state in the United States. Like, obviously, it's expensive having 6 kids. So I can see how in the UK, you have certain things that make it easier to have 6 kids. But then at the same time, you also could just move to like Austin, Texas or something like that. Or maybe not even Austin, maybe like San Antonio.
Yeah, no, Texas is great. And as a Californian, like, we don't typically like Texas, but I love Austin. I still don't think it would be feasible. And even now that the kids have passports, we don't want to move back.
I would be interested to see if everybody in your family feels the same way. So what about Grimsby in particular do you think you like?
It's not just Grimsby. I think the UK culture, is a lot better. It's, okay, like I said, I'm from Pasadena. It's not the same everywhere, and I accept that. The West Coast is a lot different from the East or the South. But back home, right, if, say, you're walking on the street and somebody's being weird with a kid. I'm not saying, like, Nancy, but, like, maybe talking shit to a kid or whatever. People just walk past. Nobody gets involved. Nobody says anything. Here, people kind of step into the situation and, like, I don't want my kid getting shouted at by anybody. Sometimes they deserve it, maybe. But I still want to know what's going on. I still want other people to intervene. And I feel like in this country, there's a lot more people. That might be a very bad example, but I feel like in this country, more people get involved when children are in a situation than they do back home. Does that make sense?
I mean, if that's your life experience, then I suppose I'm just, these seem quite niche things, niche reasons. Because I mean, Grimsby is universally considered to be not that great of a place to live, to put it euphemistically. But yeah, I mean, I think you know, if you get a chance, you might want to go back to a different state. North Carolina is nice these days. Upstate South Carolina is good as well. Even Boise, Idaho is good. You know, I've heard even places in Indiana are quite underrated. You can move to a suburb of Chicago as well and have a good life. I know quite a few decent places. Scottsdale, Arizona. Again, San Antonio, Texas is not bad. You got a lot of choices. I would suggest that you go back.
What's wrong with what is your issue with Grimsby?
Do you know what it is? And I'm going to be honest with you and quite deadpan. Your kids are not going to have the same level of opportunity in the UK living in Grimsby as they would living in the USA. So even if you're living somewhere where it's cool now, it's in terms of economic mobility, you've taken a big hit, and that might be fine. But do you know what I mean? Like, I look long term. Like, I actually like the UK personally. Like, in terms of weighing everything up, it's probably in my top 15 places that I'd live in the world. Yeah, and that's pretty high considering how many countries there are in the world. But like, if you really think about it, the long term trajectory of where the UK is heading means that for an economic migrant, which I call myself a rootless cosmopolitan, it's not a viable place. If you just do a cost benefit analysis on the UK and look at where it's heading over the next 20 to 50 years, I would argue that it doesn't even make sense to live there. So I look at the UK in terms of what society will my kids live in. I don't think that it will be a society that has a lot of economic prosperity, personally. But I could be wrong.
I don't have any intention of my kids staying here.
Oh, where do you want them to move?
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know. This was a cost-effective move at the moment.
How long have you been in the UK?
5 years. I've been in Grimsby for 1 year in Oxford.
Okay. Oxford's not bad.
I prefer Grimsby to Oxford.
Do you know what? I can kind of understand why you like Grimsby, because there is a certain quality that people in places like that have, where they're quite down to earth and stuff. And I kind of get what you're saying.
It's like a community situation that I never saw anywhere else in my life. And even though it's got a bad reputation, like and maybe you're right. Maybe I just need to move to the south.
Yeah, I think move to the south. Move to Greenville, South Carolina. That's where I was at. That place is super good. It depends what life you want, you know.
Something safe, and I don't think we have that in the United States.
Really? You don't think the United States is safe? Have you ever been a victim of violent crime?
Political, because I don't know where you stand on that matter, and I'm not trying to get involved in that.
Have you ever been a victim of violent crime in the US?
No.
So what would make? I mean, you do have. No. How many? You said you got 6 kids. How many of them are boys?
3.
Yeah, I mean, I can. If you're raising boys, especially Jamaican heritage, the statistics are not as good in terms of violence. So I can see how you would factor in violence raising boys in any country. But yeah, I don't know. If you like Grimsby, then I mean, it's a bit of a wild take for me, but everybody has their own proclivities. I like Mexico, and it's corrupt as fuck, and you get robbed by the police,
right?
and
no, I
but
agree.
I love it.
I agree. I do too. Yeah. Anyways, it was just a different perspective. I love Grimsby.
Okay, we've got ambassador for Grimsby over here. Love it.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Take care of yourself. Let's get some of the comments. Oh, we still got 42 people. What is the time? Oh, it's not even that late. We can rock out for a little bit. These earphones are hurting my ears. I think it's my hair. Damn, my hair looks so haggard. Disappeared by the US. It's baffling that people outside the US think it's better here. You have no idea. I think I have a pretty good idea. I feel safer in Phoenix, Arizona than I do in Norris Green in Liverpool. All perspective. Yeah, I've been to Phoenix, Arizona. I thought it was a pretty safe place. TS. Did I miss the healthcare chat yet? We have the healthcare chat routinely, like every day. We never get any middle ground on it because I have my perspective, and actually no, we have had middle ground a couple times. What's up, TS?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
I wanted to start off with your talks about economic mobility in terms of the UK versus the US, or really the US versus anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so by all metrics, economic mobility is worse in the United States than in the UK, and it's also worse than a lot of other European countries.
What metric are you using for economic mobility? Cool says your government. Z says what I'm saying all about perspective victim mentality is rampant. Yeah. What metric are you using for economic mobility?
Well, I just said.
You keep going muted.
I do?
Yeah. What did you say?
Okay, you can look at the World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
I think you go muted because I think you're coming off of the screen. So when you come off of the screen to Google stuff, then it it mutes you. So sometimes. So
Oh, my bad, man. Okay. World Economic Forum.
World Economic
You can
Forum.
just look up economic mobility. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can just look up economic mobility in the United States. And it shows that it's been declining. Like, I statistically am going to earn much less than my parents or my grandparents throughout my life if you adjust it for inflation.
Yes, it has been declining, but are you saying that it's lower than the UK?
Yes. I'm going to look it up on my laptop now if you'll give me a second, just because I apparently get muted.
Okay. World Economic Forum has identified the UK as having poor social mobility, ranking it 21st out of 82 economies. Okay. Where's the USA ranked? But is social mobility the same as economic mobility? Not really, is it? Income disparity, educational barriers. So when I talk about economic mobility, I'm talking about the ability for a person to go from a low income earner to a high income earner, or to generally be prosperous in terms of their economics. So you think it's easier to be economically prosperous in the UK than in the USA? Thanks for the shares, Call of the Void. Appreciate it. You don't seem sure.
Repeat your question, please?
I said,
No, I'm trying
do
to
you
think of
think
what you
it's
said while I'm
easier?
also reading studies.
Yeah, let me just say it in a blunt way. Do you think it's easier to become rich in the UK or in the USA?
I think it's absolutely easier to become rich if you're in the US, but only if your parents already had money.
Yeah, but
Like
in
what
every
the woman before us was, like the woman before us was talking about, you know, in terms of you can make more money, but also the quality of life is lower and things cost more.
Yeah, but the discretionary income is higher in the USA. So if you're talking about how people earn money in every country, inheritance is going to be the main way that people get a lot of money. Inheritance or people's wills, or getting something given to you by your parents. In every country, that's going to be the main way that people get rich. But
Really? Inheritance is a will is the main way you get money?
not necessarily a will, but yes, inheritance. Like, you having rich parents is the number one predictor of you being rich for pretty much any country.
Right. Well,
But-
we've
but-
studied
but that
and that's
applies
much
to
more
the
due
UK
to, like,
and the USA.
sociological factors and connections rather than just your parents handing over money to you. So
Right,
not
but
quite the same.
But what I'm saying is that applies in both countries. But then when you talk about how easy it is to get rich, it's easier to get rich in the USA. So because they have a higher discretionary income. So what makes you think that the economic
you define
mobility?
discretionary income? Please?
Discretionary income is the money that you have after you account for cost of living and the basic expenses that you would need to pay for.
You said the United States has a higher discretionary income?
Yes, than the UK, by far. Yeah. Bro, you're black and British, yet praising America. I don't see the contradiction there. They have bigger cars. They have better cars in the UK. Really? The UK's healthcare is sad. I feel bad for the people there. I agree. It is sad. The worst thing about it is the fact that the people won't accept that it's because it's a socialized healthcare system. Wilma says
You don't want
zero
socialized
discretionary income
healthcare?
here. No, socialized healthcare is bad.
What?
Yeah.
So you don't want everyone to have healthcare?
I want everyone to have access to healthcare. I don't think socialized healthcare is the best way to achieve that.
How would you achieve it?
Through a mixed healthcare model. So similar to what the USA already has, but then drive down healthcare prices by doing the next country price matching thing that Trump's trying to do by defunding a lot of program, like defunding the vaccination program. I think the pharmaceutical companies need to have their profits attacked basically by the state to drive down healthcare prices. But I don't think that the problem in the USA is the healthcare model. I think it's just pharmaceutical lobbying. But it's definitely a better healthcare system than the UK's.
By what metric is it a better healthcare?
Sorry?
By what metric is the healthcare better in the US than the UK?
Oh, like they have shorter waiting times, better hospitals, better medical technology, more scanning, more robust scans, better doctors, the staff get paid more, there's a better patient to staff ratio, stuff like that.
Only if you're paying for private healthcare. And that's only sometimes.
Well, that applies in general. Most people in the USA have health insurance. Is approximately 60% have private healthcare, and approximately
Right, which means
30%
almost half of the people
have
in the
government.
US don't have private healthcare.
No. So 60% have a private insurance plan, and then approximately
Right.
32% have Medicaid or Medicare. So it's
Right.
about a third of a socialized healthcare system, isn't it? So
Does that mean that 8% of people just don't have healthcare in the US?
it doesn't mean that they don't have healthcare. It means that they usually have opted to not have insurance cover, such that when they get a bill, they either pay it or don't pay it. Many people just don't pay the bill. Some people will not have that high medical bills. Like some of those people might be a young professional. They don't feel that they have any health problems. Or some of them might be like 2 years away from qualifying for Medicare or something like that. So they just choose not to have it. There's a misconception.
They don't have insurance.
There's a big misconception that the people in the USA don't have insurance because they can't afford it. The vast majority of people can afford some kind of insurance. They don't have insurance because most of the people that don't have insurance don't have it because they don't want it. Because you can literally get like Affordable Care Act healthcare plans that cost you less per year than like a UK taxpayer would pay
Trump, and
in taxes towards
he's
the
trying
NHS.
to get rid of that. He's trying to slash Medicaid, which also is going to raise insurance premiums on everybody.
He's not actually slashing Medicaid. He's just implemented more work requirements for people to be eligible for Medicaid, which, yes, necessarily will decrease the number of people on Medicaid, but it's not because he's getting rid of the concept of means-tested Medicaid. That is a good concept in my opinion.
He is getting rid of it. And what do you suggest
not
for
getting
people
rid of
who
it.
are out of work? He's getting rid of a lot of it. He's slashed the budget. Those were his budget cuts, which is why we're in shutdown now. It's because he's trying to make them permanent budget cuts to Medicaid.
Well, the budget cuts is more about the fact that they would have less income coming in over the long term. It's not actually about them
Right. So
paying more money. It's just having less income.
actually slashing that program. Like that's what cutting a program means.
But that even if that's true, that's not inherently bad. Wouldn't you say that the ideal scenario is that nobody is dependent on the government for healthcare? Like, why would you want everybody dependent on the government for healthcare? The ideal scenario is to have no one dependent on the government. The only reason you need government dependence is because healthcare is so expensive. So you want to move towards a society where less people need the government for healthcare. That's ideal. That's the ideal scenario. That's why I'm saying I think a mixed healthcare model is the best, where you have some people will be dependent on government healthcare necessarily until the healthcare prices have been driven down sufficiently, which I do think will happen over the long term. But then some people obviously don't need to depend on the government, and why would you want them to?
But we, with our private taxes, are still paying healthcare companies. So it actually doesn't matter if you say we're dependent on the government for healthcare or not. Our taxes still go to paying private healthcare companies.
Paying healthcare companies is a good thing.
is-
That's a good thing because it creates an economy that hires people. It creates an economy that breeds competition, innovation. That's a great thing. Like that's one of the reasons why the United States is successful, because they have a massive healthcare industry, among other industries, but a lot of that is insurance companies and stuff like that. So creating an economy is a good thing. Now, there are issues with American healthcare, but it's definitely better than UK healthcare. And it's also
I didn't
similar
say that
to other
taxes
countries
weren't a
that
good thing.
all of
You
the
interrupted me.
Sorry, you go.
I didn't say that taxes weren't a good thing, but you're talking about how we shouldn't be dependent on the government. The government, whether or not we have private health care, if there is any private health care in the US, all of our taxes still go to funding those private healthcare companies.
Yeah, but it's a much smaller percentage of the taxes that you would pay if you had socialized healthcare, if you had fully socialized healthcare.
It's not, because it actually costs the US much, much more to have privatized healthcare in this way. It's
No,
much more expensive. It costs billions of dollars a year.
It is because your taxes would obviously go up if there was socialized healthcare for everyone. That's why healthcare premiums went up when Obamacare came around, because they came up because those people are basically subsidizing Medicaid for everybody else. So likewise, if everybody was now dependent on the Medicaid system, then they would, if they did it through socialized healthcare, then the taxes would go up to accommodate all the people that are now dependent on the system. If they did it through employer subsidized healthcare, like they did it with Medicaid previously, then people's insurance premiums will go up to subsidize the people that are getting free healthcare or subsidized healthcare.
I would rather my taxes go to healthcare than to the military, quite frankly.
But do
regardless, how would you?
Go on.
How would you explain the projected 75% increase in healthcare premiums in the U.S. under Trump?
Are you saying over what period is that?
Over the new bill, which is why the government is shut down right now. There's what Trump wants to make permanent is that we're raising healthcare premiums by up to 75%.
So,
but he's also getting rid of the socialized healthcare, which is Medicaid. So how would you explain that under your system where healthcare premiums go down because we all have them?
I don't know anything about projected 75% increase. I would need to understand how that was worked out. But
okay.
Trump is not slashing Medicaid, as I've said numerous times. He's making it so that there are more work requirements. And the reason the government is shut down is because the Democrats are being stubborn and belligerent and refusing to allow a bill to pass. Because they are stubborn, belligerent.
They're refusing to allow a bill to pass because it would solidify the cuts to Medicaid, which is happening. It would solidify the $1 trillion plus payments for ICE.
Do you believe in democracy?
Define democracy.
Do you believe in the will of the people being represented?
Yeah.
And who did the people vote for?
Well, a third of people didn't vote at all. And then a third of us voted for Harris and a third of us voted for Trump. So if you want to be technical about it, or the will of the people is that 2/3 didn't want Trump as president in the U.S.
Who got the Democratic mandate for presidency?
The Democratic nomination, you mean?
Who got the Democratic mandate, as in who effectively won the vote in terms of the de facto will of the people?
Well, that's not what you asked the first time, was it?
I think you know the answer, but you're deliberately avoiding the answer because it goes against your narrative.
No, I'm not, because you
so
asked
who
a
won?
question
Who won the
and
election?
it wasn't the answer you wanted, so now you're changing the question again.
Who won the election? I'm trying to simplify the question for you because you're trying to be avoidant. Who won the election?
Trump won the election.
So don't you think that the people of the country want the government to be able to do the job that they voted them in to do?
Yes, but most voting members of America didn't vote for Trump.
So you believe in some kind of mob rule where even if somebody wins a presidency, you can just stubbornly oppose everything they do, even though the people voted for them? I mean, that is the definition of going against democracy.
That's not what I said.
The Democrats are trying to stagnate bills that they don't want to be passed, even though obviously the people have voted this party into power to pass certain bills.
A third of the country voted him into power.
So what do you propose? What do you propose? Do you think that when someone's voted into power, if only a third of people voted for them, that they shouldn't be able to operate? They shouldn't be able to be an effective president, such that every single time they try and pass a bill, that there should be all this uproar and furore. You basically think that because the Democrats don't like something, they shouldn't, it shouldn't pass, even though they're not the majority in government?
That's not what I said, and that's not what I think.
Okay, so do you condemn what the Democrats are doing then?
No, I don't actually. I wish they'd done a lot more, a lot sooner.
You don't condemn them trying to prevent a bill passing by allowing a government shutdown, even though that is literally holding the people hostage in order to stubbornly stop something that they don't want to happen, even though they're not the majority in government.
Right, having the majority doesn't mean that you get to decide everything that's happening all the time. That would be a monarchy or an authoritarian regime. It wouldn't be democracy.
So who gets to decide what bills pass? Is it not the majority?
There's a lot of compromise, so it's people coming together, ideally, Democrats and Republicans, and making edits to bills, and Democrats saying, I'll vote for this if you give me this, or Republicans saying, I'll do this if you give me this.
So let me get this
That's
straight. If when Obama wanted to pass Obamacare, the Republicans all caused the government shutdown to try and prevent the bill from getting passed, would that be a good thing?
They tried preventing the Affordable Care Act to be passed for a very long time.
They tried preventing it, but did they did they do it in this way? And if they did it in that way, would you be in favor of that? You seem to only be in favor of things when they align with your narrative. You don't seem to believe in democracy.
What?
Yeah, you don't seem to believe in the will of the people actually being represented. You seem to want the will of
Democrats and Republicans working together to have bills come out is the will of the people being represented. If it's just Republicans deciding everything, which they are because they have the House and the Senate and the presidency, that's not actually all the people who voted for Democrats being represented.
Why do they have the House and the Senate? Tell us.
What do you mean, why do they?
It's a very simple question. Why do the Republicans have the House and the Senate?
They were voted on.
So what are you talking about?
Are there still Democrats in the House and the Senate?
Yes, but they don't have the
There are
majority.
people who voted for Democrats.
So
Which
you
means
just
that people
don't
who voted
believe
for
in the voting
Democrats-
process? Like, do you not believe that the reason why the system is set up in that way is so that bills can be passed after a vote has taken place?
Bills can be passed. There's supposed to be bipartisan support for bills.
There doesn't have
That's
to be
how they get
bipartisan
passed.
support for bills.
Yes, there does.
No,
That's
there
why
doesn't.
you need 60. That's why you need 60%.
No,
of
there
senators
doesn't.
to
There
vote
doesn't.
for a
There's
bill
never
to
had to
pass.
be bipartisan support for a bill. That's not a
To be passed,
prerequisite.
there needs to be. Yes,
It
there
may,
does.
it
There
may
has
need to be depending on the distribution of party members in a certain Congress, but there doesn't actually need to be. There doesn't actually need
Tell me
to be.
how a bill gets passed if the minority of people are agreeing with it.
Well, usually it won't get passed,
Exactly, because you
which
need
proves
a
my
majority
point, which is
to
that
pass a bill.
yeah, but that proves my point, which is that the
But you were just
government
disagreeing with
operates
that. You
based
just
on
said you
who's
don't
in
need
the
a
majority.
to pass. You just said you don't need a majority to pass.
I said it's not a No, I didn't say that. I said it's not a prerequisite to have bipartisan support in order for a bill to pass. You're not listening.
I didn't say bipartisan support. I said you need the majority of people to vote on a bill for it to pass.
I didn't disagree with that.
Yes, you did.
No, I
because
didn't.
then
I said you
how
don't
do
need.
pass
I
a
said it's
bill
not
with
a
the minority of
prerequisite to
people
have
agreeing?
bipartisan support. So at the point when you need to like lie and falsely accuse me, doesn't that show you that you're wrong?
I'm not lying to you.
Well, you're pretending I'm saying
You keep
something that I'm not
changing
saying.
the goalposts. You just did say it.
So anyway, it's quite obvious that the Democrats are being stubborn and belligerent because they don't want a bill to pass. You think that's okay because you agree with them. That's fine. But at the end of the day, that contradicts the idea of the democratic process running smoothly. And in any sense, it has no bearing on the fact that the USA is still better than the UK. And the Medicaid bill, I think the Medicaid bill was good personally, but that makes the USA a mixed healthcare model. Most modern countries have a mixed healthcare model. Australia, Germany, USA. UK is behind. Socialized healthcare is a relic of the 1950s. And I think we need to see it go so that the UK can progress in many regards. But it is a blight upon the UK, I think, at this point in the NHS.
You went 12 different places at once, friend.
You don't see the connection between anything I just said? How I talked about, we talked about the bill being passed, and that you mentioned how that bill being passed is going to prevent people from having Medicaid. And then I used Obamacare as an example, which is another example of Medicaid. And then I talked about mixed healthcare models, which is exactly what Medicaid is. It's part of a mixed healthcare model. Then I mentioned other countries with mixed healthcare models. Then I talked about how that's a more modern health system and how I think the UK should progress to have a more modern healthcare system, i.e. a mixed healthcare model. You don't see the connection there?
No, because we went from representation to you saying I said something that I didn't say.
What did I say
Saying
that you
I'm
said that you
claiming
didn't say?
saying things.
What did I say that you said that you didn't say?
Never mind.
So do you concede that I didn't say that you said something that you didn't say? Because you don't seem to be able to evidence it. So you're falsely accusing me.
No, me saying that it's difficult to debate with you because you keep saying things
Because
that aren't
you're
true,
wrong.
and
This is what it feels
whenever
like when
you
you're wrong.
say something and you keep interrupting me.
Yeah, this is what it feels like
It's
when you're
not me
wrong.
conceding.
No, you won't.
No, I
You won't
think you
concede
just
because you're
can't
not.
realize
You're
when
not
you're
used to
wrong.
conceding. It's actually just a character flaw.
think you're stupid, and that's a pretty big character flaw.
Well, you can think I'm stupid, but again, you just falsely accused me. You said that you said something that you didn't say. Evidence it.
I did not falsely accuse you of
Okay,
anything.
tell
This
me,
is
tell me,
ridiculous.
tell me what I said you said that you didn't say.
No, if you're bringing a claim forward, what did I falsely accuse you of?
You said that I said something that you said that I said that you said something that you didn't say. That's what you falsely accused me of.
You told me that I didn't believe in democracy. You told me that I was okay.
I asked you, do you believe in democracy? You said yes. And I said that because what you're suggesting runs about, the Democrats being able to hold the Congress ransom runs antithetical to the idea of the democratic process.
No, it doesn't. If they're both branches in government trying to do something separately, that's exactly what the democratic process is, which I've been trying to tell you.
So you don't
Right?
think
If
it
there were
runs...
only one party controlling everything and passing any bill they want whenever they wanted, that wouldn't be democracy. That's authoritarianism.
How is it authoritarianism if the people voted that party in power to give them a majority to be able
Because
to
there are
pass bills?
still people who didn't vote for that party, and they should be represented in government too, because that's what democracy is.
So you're now saying democracy is the minority deciding what the majority does?
No, that's not what I said.
So is the majority deciding that they want Trump in office and to pass the bills that he
No.
wants to pass?
No.
Should we see what percentage of people voted for Trump then?
Sure.
Okay. Percentage of people who voted for Trump. Okay. So Trump got 312 electoral votes. The Democrats got 226. So not only did Trump win the electoral vote, he won the popular vote as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for the
understand
people
what
that
the
vote. So the majority of people that voted want Trump in office, right?
You're changing it now. You said who voted. You said how many people voted for Trump. First of all, do you understand what the Electoral College is? Because
The
it's
majority of
majority.
people that voted for Trump. So obviously we're not going to be
Majority of
accounting for the people that
who
didn't vote.
voted?
Yeah, why would we account for people that didn't vote? They opted out of the democratic process. So
It doesn't
we
mean
are
the majority of people voted for Trump.
the majority
That
of people
means there's a
that
majority-
voted for Trump. So everybody who opted into the democratic process, of those people, the majority of people vote for Trump. When you vote for a president, you are voting for the president to be the executive, the commander in chief, and to be able to run the party that is passing bills in Congress, especially if you win the popular vote. Not only are you representing not only are you representing your party that won the majority of seats, you're also representing the majority of people that voted. So he's actually representing the majority, but you don't seem to realize that you are in the minority, and you think that the minority should decide what happens such that they should be able to hold the government ransom. That runs
That's
antithetical
not
to the
what I said. I said I don't think the majority should decide. It's also different to say that's the majority of people wanted, and that's what the majority of people who voted wanted. Almost 40% of people who were eligible to vote didn't vote.
We're not accounting for the people that didn't vote because they opted out of the democratic process. You can't presume who they would have voted for. They didn't vote. We can only account for the people that did vote, and the people that did vote want Trump and his agenda. But you're saying the majority shouldn't control what happens. So are you saying the minority should control what happens?
No, I'm saying people should come together and make concessions to decide on something.
Okay,
That's
and
how democracy
when
works.
people come together and the minority wants something but the majority wants something else, don't you think the majority should win?
I think the majority, if they're trying to do something, should change aspects of what they're doing to make sure that the minority can vote on things too. That's how democracy has worked in the US. That's how bills are passed.
Okay,
The majority
so
gives concessions
unless-
to the minority to get them to sign on.
So you're saying unless the Republicans kowtow to what the Democrats want, they just shut down the government and hold everybody ransom?
The Republicans didn't even show up to the last day of voting because they're not doing anything in
But
good
why
faith.
should they have to? Why should they have to make concessions for the party that's in the minority?
Because that's how it works to get a bill passed.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you? So, considering that you kind of don't really believe in the principles of democracy, in my opinion, considering that you seem to think that a universal healthcare system is better, would you consider moving to
I
the?
don't believe. I'm not saying I don't believe in the principles of democracy, so let's take that off the table.
That's my opinion. That you, my opinion is
right,
that you
but don't
believe
list it as fact then. Don't tell me what
I didn't say it's a
thinking.
fact. I said it's my opinion. It's my
right,
opinion
so take
that
off
you
your
don't.
opinion because we're not debating.
No, I'm
about
allowed
what
to say
you
my
think I
opinion.
think.
My opinion is that you don't believe in the principles of democracy.
No, you said considering X, and I'm not considering X, so you shouldn't be mentioning it.
I can say what I want. My opinion is you don't believe in the principle of democracy. So have you
You
considered?
can say whatever you want.
I know
but
that.
it's not a good rule for debating to just be like, well, I think you believe this when someone doesn't.
That's my opinion. So I know you want to control what happens in government and have your cronies control what happens in government, and you guys want to enforce social paradigms on society, and you also now want to enforce your view on me. But I'm entitled to have my opinion. So that's my opinion. But
I never said you weren't. I said you shouldn't bring things up in debating when you don't think that they're relevant to your argument, which aren't. You're just saying.
I do think it's relevant to my argument. That I think I pretty well evidenced how it's relevant. And I gave multiple examples that show that you are contradicting yourself when you say that you do believe in democracy.
What you think about what I think is incorrect.
That's fine. You're entitled to that opinion. But I was going to ask.
It's my own opinion. What?
I said you're entitled to that opinion.
Right, because it's what I think. And
you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Your incorrect opinion. Yes, you are entitled.
You
to
can
that.
believe my opinion is incorrect. That's fine. But I'm saying you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion.
You're saying an opinion about what you think I'm thinking, which is wrong. So
no,
yeah, you can say it.
Yeah, I'm saying your opinion about your beliefs because you showed that your beliefs are contradictory. So sometimes people have something called cognitive dissonance where they think something, but what they think is not true. So they believe something about themselves or about society, and it's dissonant with their reality or how they act or other contradictory beliefs that they hold. So I think that you are dissonant. So that's why you think you believe in the principles of
authoritarianism. Okay, I think you believe in authoritarianism.
You're welcome to think that. But I wanted to ask you, have you considered moving to a country with universal healthcare like the UK?
Yeah, I lived in the UK. I loved it.
Oh, okay. You live in the UK now?
No, I lived there for a year for study abroad.
Oh, okay, and have you considered going back?
I'd love to go back.
Okay, great. Love that. So why do you want to change America so that it's more like the UK if the people of America don't want that?
People in America do want that. Can you describe what you mean by more like the UK?
Like having a universal healthcare system.
I'm going to look it up. I believe most Americans support having universal healthcare.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. I don't think Americans want universal healthcare. There's so many misconceptions. I think what happens is that leftists are like a vocal minority in America. So they project all these ideas and they project onto Western Europe as well. Like Western Europeans listen to leftists when they want to understand what Americans think. They don't realize that like the vast majority of Americans don't agree with that shit. Like I had someone on earlier saying like Democrats want to get rid of the Second Amendment. And I'm like, no, they don't. Like even Democrats don't want to get rid of the Second Amendment. They're like, yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. I'm just like, no, like most Americans don't want that shit. They don't want universal healthcare.
57% say government should ensure health coverage for all U.S. 53% favor health system based on private insurance. 43% government run.
53% favor a system based on private insurance?
No, 57% say the government should ensure health coverage for all in the U.S.
Yeah, because
majority say U.S. healthcare is government responsibility.
Well, that's a loaded statement saying ensure health coverage for all. But when they ask them specifically about the system being based on private insurance, you see that the majority said yes, even with the stats that you just pulled up.
But it's still supporting government should ensure this, and the government isn't right now.
But you just said 53% support a private health insurance system, right?
Yeah, but more than that still say the government should ensure that, right? So there is still an aspect of the government saying this.
That doesn't necessarily mean they're saying they want a universal socialized healthcare system. They could be saying that they think that Medicaid should be expanded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you have fun getting smoked? I feel like I slow
I think I got
roasted you.
smoked.
Yeah, I slow
No.
roasted you on a skewer, like you hear like
Oh
the
yeah.
crackling
Okay, so this
fat
is a more
underneath the
recent
skin.
survey, actually, from 2024. 62% of Americans now say the federal government should ensure that all Americans have coverage.
Okay, that
Republicans,
again, that could be
65%
that could be
support it.
expanded Medicaid. You realize that, right? Which is a mixed healthcare model, which is what America has. They don't have a
So
completely
they're
privatized
supporting a more
system.
comprehensive mixed healthcare model where the government is making sure that everyone still has healthcare.
Yeah, that's what I'm advocating for, a mixed healthcare model. That's what America has. UK doesn't have that. They have a socialized healthcare system.
But you have mixed too. You can go to a private doctor because I've gone.
No, it's a single payer healthcare system. So even if you go to a private doctor, you still have to pay taxes towards healthcare in the UK. So it's a single payer system.
That's the same in the US.
No, but it's not to the same extent because you can like you can pay taxes that subsidize Medicaid. That is true. So you were partially right. But in the UK, your taxes completely subsidize the entire US. Then like your taxes in the USA don't subsidize other people's private insurance.
Yes, they do. That's what I've been
They
trying to
subsidize
tell you.
Medicaid.
Yes, and they also go to health insurance companies, and they also go to making sure hospitals are open and run.
Actually, it's the other way around. The health insurance company money goes towards Medicaid.
Your taxes in America go to private health insurance companies.
How?
The government gives corporations taxpayer money to help keep them running. That's what also happened with
Are you talking
2008
about
with the giant
company?
stock
Are you
market
talking
crash.
about private companies that offer Medicaid, that offer healthcare on Medicaid? Because that would be the only. I mean, by what mechanism does the money go towards? I mean, I'm sure there are some kind of subsidies somewhere, but that's not how the system generally functions. The system in the UK functions such that you literally pay for the entire NHS, which is what majority of people use. In the USA, generally speaking, you pay only for Medicaid, a very small percentage, and then your own health insurance premium if you have private insurance. So the tax contribution towards healthcare in the USA is far lower. And in the UK, you are paying for the entirety of the healthcare system with all expenditure,
Yeah.
all taxes. It's a
In the
different
US,
system.
taxes do pay for private medical care through several mechanisms, including subsidies for health insurance
Yeah.
and refundable tax credits for individuals.
Yeah, I did mention subsidies, didn't I?
Yeah, but I think you asked, how does this happen? How are private taxes
I
funding
said
private
that that's
corporations?
so subsidies are a feature of any modern system. Subsidies are a mechanism by which, yes, taxpayer money goes towards private corporations, but that's not a function of how the healthcare system works. That's actually something separate. Because
No, it is. Public funding
like for
covers a
example,
large portion of private health spending.
banks get subsidies, right? But if you ask how does the banking system work, you wouldn't say the banking system works by getting subsidies from people. No, that's not how it works. That's something that happens. That is a transfer of wealth from the taxpayer to banks, but that's not a feature of how the system actually is supposed to work. In the UK, the system is supposed to work in a way that means that your taxpayer money pays for the entirety of the healthcare system. You understand? In the USA, as a feature, your taxpayer money only pays for Medicaid and Medicare, and they actually call the tax. Don't they actually call the tax Medicaid tax or something like that?
It pays for Medicaid, and you're also paying for private health insurance companies and private medical insurance.
Did you even listen to anything I said?
I said, but you're saying you're only paying for Medicaid, and I'm saying
No,
you're
I
not.
said that if money goes from the taxpayer to a private company in the form of a subsidy, that's not a feature of how the system works. That is a separate mechanism to how the actual healthcare system functions and how the tax system functions. In other words, you could have the exact same functioning system and have a year where no subsidies go to the private sector at all. Now, I'm not saying it's
just
happened.
Subsidies. It's the largest form of tax-funded support for private coverage is employer-sponsored health insurance.
Yes.
From payroll taxes.
Yeah, but the employers
From payroll taxes.
The employers pay towards people's Medicaid. The money flows in the other direction that you're describing.
They're excluding employer-sponsored health insurance.
you're making it seem as if the money is flowing from the taxpayer to the private sector. It's actually no, you're wrong.
Yes.
You're wrong. It's flowing from
I promise you,
no,
your private taxes.
I can tell you
yes,
that
your
the
taxes.
money overall, overwhelmingly, is flowing from the private sector towards Medicaid. That's how the system works. So when you get a health insurance premium, some of the money, like when you pay your health insurance premium and when your employer pays some of your health insurance premium, some of that money goes towards subsidizing Medicaid. That's pretty much the whole point of Obamacare. That's why everyone's premium raised when they expanded Medicare, right? Because the premium is paying for people's Medicaid. Do you get it?
I get it, and you're right on that. And I'm saying that you also, on your taxes every year, you're also paying, and some of that money goes to private health insurance companies.
Okay, all right, but you do agree that the system is different in the UK, such that the USA has a mixed healthcare model, the UK has a single payer healthcare model. So I'm arguing for a mixed healthcare model. I'm assuming you're saying you want a single payer healthcare model?
Well, yes, the UK has NHS, and also you can see private doctors. Like you said before, it's a mixed model as well. The US is just much more private.
It's not a mixed model in the UK. It's a single payer model.
Then why can you still pay to see a private doctor?
Because
if it's all socialized NHS?
Because when you pay for a private doctor, your tax money is still completely funding the NHS. So it's not a mixed model. It's a single payer model. Everybody pays towards the NHS whether they like it or not. You can't opt out of paying towards the NHS. So it's a different model.
You can't opt out of your taxes going to Medicaid. So I'm confused where you're putting the differentiation.
Yes. Okay. That's what I already explained to you, is that Medicaid does not constitute the entirety of the health services, right? But the NHS, other than the small percentage of people who have private healthcare, even people that have private healthcare, they still have to use NHS hospitals. I don't know if you realize that. It's a single pay model. If you look up right now, what healthcare model does the UK have, it will say a single payer healthcare system. If you look up what the USA has, it will say a mixed healthcare model. They're fundamentally different things. You can even look up the difference. So and this could edify both of us. So let's look up the definition of a mixed healthcare system. That would probably help us, right? So a mixed healthcare system is characterized by the coexistence of public and private sectors in the provision of services and financing. This model combines elements of public services like government-funded hospitals and insurance with private entities, including private hospitals, insurance companies, and even informal providers. Such systems aim to leverage the strengths of both public and private domains. So dual provider system, right? So Germany, Netherlands, India, off the top of my head, there's also Australia, right? So
right, I just looked it up and it says, yes, the UK has a mixed healthcare system.
No,
it combines the NHS with smaller but growing private healthcare sector.
Okay, but listen to what a single payer system is. Single payer system is a model of universal healthcare where one public entity, typically the government, finances all healthcare costs for its residents, usually through taxes. So the USA does not have that. You understand? See how it says finances all healthcare costs for its residents? The USA doesn't have that. The UK does have that. So the USA doesn't have a single payer healthcare system.
Right, but the UK doesn't either.
Yes, it does.
Because I just looked it up and it says the UK has a mixed healthcare system.
You can describe it as a mixed healthcare system, but the reality is that the percentage of the system that is accounted for by the public sector is like 3 or 4%. Whereas in the USA, it's like 60%. So if you want to just play semantic games, then you can. But the reality is that the system is fundamentally different.
It's not a semantic game. I'm trying to understand your point. It is,
because you're just saying if there's any private sector at all, that makes it a mixed healthcare system, regardless of the fact that it's like 3% of the system. Whereas in the USA, it's 60+%. That's a big difference. You not think?
It's not a semantic game. I'm trying to learn something.
Okay.
Right?
Do you understand that the USA doesn't have a single payer healthcare system because it doesn't have all healthcare costs for its residents financed through taxes, and it doesn't have universal healthcare, which is why you even said you think the USA should have universal healthcare, thereby acknowledging that it doesn't currently have universal healthcare. That being the fundamental difference between the system of the USA and the system of the UK is that the USA does not have universal healthcare and the UK does.
My question wasn't about universal healthcare. It was, you saying it's a single payer system, right? But when I look it up, it's not a single payer system.
Okay, if you don't want to believe that it's a single payer system, that's fine.
I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm saying I'm confused because you're saying something and places online are telling me something else.
Does it say the UK does not have a single payer system?
I looked up, is the NHS the only health service in the UK? And it says, no, it's not. It's a mixed system.
Did you look up, is the UK system a single payer healthcare system?
Yeah.
What did it say?
It says no.
It says not a single payer healthcare system? That's news to me.
Yes.
So what do you think the differences are between the UK and the US healthcare system?
From what I experienced, it's much easier to get healthcare in the UK, and that also costs a lot less.
Yes, the UK's National Health Service is a single-payer healthcare system, meaning it's primarily funded by taxation and national insurance contributions and acts as the main payer for most healthcare services for all legal UK residents, making most services free at the point of use. So did you lie, or were you mistaken, or...?
Maybe we're looking at different things on the internet? Do you think that's more likely?
No, I think you just don't want to accept that you're wrong.
What?
Everybody knows that the
Also,
UK
I'm
has a
looking-
single-payer
I'm
healthcare
looking-
system. You're just pretending that that's not the case because you don't want to accept that you're wrong.
Why would I make up quoting something?
Because you're a leftist. So you guys are like delusional.
Can you tell me the article you're looking at then, so I can also see it?
What? I mean, you are essentially just arguing with objective reality for no reason. Everybody knows.
Can you just tell me the
Everybody
name of your
knows.
article?
Everybody
Can you
knows
just
that
tell
the
me the name of your
UK.
article?
Why would, like, I gave you the
Why
definition
can't
of,
you tell me the name of your article?
because it's like asking me to tell you the name of where I get the definition of house from. Like, it's a ubiquitously understood definition that you can look
Well,
up
it's
online.
clearly not because I'm reading different things on my
So you're saying
screen.
because
So
you
I'm
don't know
asking
something
you,
that
if
is
I'm
not.
mistaken,
So you're basically
if
saying
I'm
you're saying
mistaken-
because you don't know
No,
something,
you're
everybody else
interrupting me
doesn't
again.
know
I'm
it.
telling you, if I'm mistaken, let me know where you're getting your information, and I will go up look at it.
I'm getting my information
saying, no,
from
I'm
the
not gonna tell
definition
you.
of what a single payer healthcare system is.
So you're saying that I'm lying, but you can't even give me your information.
I asked
can't
you,
even give
are
me
you
your
lying?
source?
I asked you, were you lying or mistaken? Because you said that you looked up whether UK has a single payer healthcare system and it said no. So then because you said that it said no and I looked up and it said yes, I asked you, did you lie or were you mistaken?
Right, and I'm
Yeah.
saying maybe we're looking at different things. So can you give me your source, please?
Cameron says, dude, your source being your delusion doesn't hold up. So guys, we're now at the point where the leftists in the live are pretending that the UK doesn't have a single payer healthcare system. Okay, guys. Final thoughts, TS?
Why can't you tell me your source? How can you also accuse me of lying?
Because I'm
if
a
you're not
bad
telling me your
person. I'm a
source?
meanie. I'm a bad meanie.
Okay, I'll pray for you, man.
Are you Christian? Oh, she left. You're going to pray for me. That's good for someone to pray for you. I'm happy with that. I think that's a good result if someone says that they'll pray for me. His source is his delusions. I'm delusional, guys. Everybody. Apparently, the UK doesn't have a single payer healthcare system. That's news to me. By the way, here's a source, guys. The Heritage Foundation, British single payer healthcare program is cratering. That should be a wake up call for US liberals. People will say that this is a biased source. I don't know. Maybe we could look up the Wikipedia page on the NHS. The National Health Service is the publicly funded healthcare system in England, one of the 4 national health service systems in the United Kingdom. It is the second largest single payer healthcare system in the world. Interesting. Let's see what the source is. NHS.UK. There we go. So the NHS site itself, this is an actual archive source. So we go from the Wikipedia, tells you what the NHS is, single payer healthcare system. When you find the source, everyone can do this with me. Then you can just go onto the NHS website and it will tell you itself that it's a single payer healthcare system. In fact, there are like 150, no, there's like 175 sources on this page. I'm sure most of them will refer to the fact that the UK has a universal healthcare system or a single payer healthcare system. And it's sad that, you have these people that come on and they can't concede. I don't see the point in just pretending that something is true that isn't true just for the sake of winning an argument. We're all humans. We all make mistakes. I like how I went from learning about surgery I'll need to eventually getting it done in 2 weeks. Is that in the UK? I'm assuming not. Amy C says, the right hates you. What do you mean by the right hates me? Are you saying people that are right wing hate me? Most people don't hate me, but people that get proven wrong by me, like, it's usually women, usually leftist women. They hate me because they don't like logic. What's up, A.W. Rice?
Hey, how are you, man? Andy Rice, Texas.
Oh, I like the way
I just got to say,
damn, bro.
I just got to say, I was, I have a West Texas education, which, sometimes can't be very valuable, but I knew that you had a single payer system. Man,
I'm going to steal that from you. I love the way you introduced yourself. A Rice, West Texas. I'm going to start doing that.
Hey, so
AM.
My question
London.
is, I probably don't seem like it, but I'm a big fan of public health, and healthcare are a national security issue. So what I wanted to ask you is, what are the fallacies with your single payer system?
Good question. So the fallacies are that there are millions of people on the waiting list. In addition, it's a system that is effectively run by the government. The NHS is public trust owned, but it's run by the government. In other words, government sets majority of policies and certain budgets and things. It is inextricable from the government. So what that means is that there is an incentive for it to be protected by the state. So when you try to hold them accountable, it's much more difficult because you are effectively going up against the government. And I've experienced this because the NHS killed my daughter and they covered it up. So there's that. There's the fact that you are now up against a state apparatus. In addition, because it's a system that everybody in the country relies upon, they have to protect it at all costs. If you'll notice, the motto of the NHS is protect the NHS. And the reason why is because there's a concept in law known as the floodgates of litigation. And the floodgates of litigation is where loads of people start suing based on a case law precedent. So let's say I get injured by the COVID vaccine, right? Which I would never take the vaccine anyway. But let's say I get injured by the COVID vaccine, and then I sue, and then I win my case, and they say, yes, you were injured by the COVID vaccine, it shouldn't have been given to you. Now everyone's going to start suing, and then that will literally collapse the system because they'll have to pay out thousands or millions to loads of different people. So what happens is the legal framework, they create laws and they adjudicate cases in such a way that laws and case law are created to protect the NHS. So this makes it a system that is very difficult to hold accountable, and it also means that you don't get, the payouts are very low when you're harmed by the NHS. It's hard to hold them legally accountable. You can't sort of like sue them out of existence. It also means that there's a lot of ideological poison that is difficult to shake because it's not like a meritocracy. It's not like, we're in competition with this company or that company. They have carte blanche. It doesn't matter whether they kill people or not, they're still going to exist, they're still going to get funding, you understand? So because of that, it's, in my opinion, it's a less accountable system. But there's also stagnation and other issues, like the waiting list being one of the main ones.
Understood. Are there any good points too? Like, for example, I believe that here in America, for basic services, not boob jobs, not cosmetic surgery, but basic services, any American should be able to walk in and not go bankrupt, for breaking an arm or, cutting an arm off or something. I believe we're a wealthy enough nation to do that. I'm a capitalist by trade. But I think health and healthcare are a national security issue. So things like pediatrics for your kids and basic emergency services, are they good or bad?
I mean, if you compare it on like child mortality, generally I'd say they're good. Obviously, my child was killed by the NHS, but I try not to let that colour my perception. I think generally speaking, the UK has quite good childcare, health services, and things like that. But I actually agree with you. I believe that people with chronic conditions, I believe emergency health, I think all of that should be available, subsidised by the government. That's why I believe in a mixed healthcare model. So I'm kind of almost for expanded Medicaid in a sense, but I definitely think that a large percentage, the vast majority of the healthcare sector should be a private healthcare system. So I'd say maybe like 65-70% should be private healthcare. Right now I think you're at like 60%, but still definitely there should be people in the population that if they're financially destitute, if they've got serious addiction, serious addiction, chronic conditions, then I think that that they should have subsidized or free healthcare. But that's not what we have in the UK. We don't have a means tested healthcare system. We don't have Medicaid. We just have a universal healthcare system.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree. Folks that kind of believe in the current model that we have, I mean, and that the government, should not subsidize or whatever they believe. The reality is the government should be, because I mean, especially the health, not just the health care, but the health of the nation. I mean, because they're trying to grow future taxpayers, right?
Well, I kind of look at it like this. In an ideal world, you would have 100% private healthcare system because everyone would be able to afford it, right? We don't live in an ideal world. We live in a world where many people can't afford healthcare if it's not subsidized for them, or if the government doesn't provide it for them. So we have to be realistic when we think about the state of, I would love to radically change society. So whenever I talk about my ideas, I will talk about what, my idealistic ideas, what I really want, and then I talk about what I think is actually functionally possible. It's not possible in the modern day to have 100%, in my opinion, to have 100% private system, because there's too much disparity. But the ideal scenario is, healthcare is 1/10 of the price it is now, and everyone can just go about their merry way and pay for it when they want. Because we don't live in that ideal society, that's where you need a mixed healthcare model. So the thing is, it's about shifting the balance based on how affordable healthcare is. If healthcare is super affordable, then shift it more towards private. If healthcare is super unaffordable, then you might have to shift it more towards a socialized healthcare model, right? So that it's subsidized, right? And obviously, countries can negotiate healthcare prices lower because they have more leverage than just a single company does. But my thing with the UK is we are shifted way too in favor of socialized healthcare, in my opinion. I think we need to shift back so that more of the healthcare is in the private sector.
Cool. Well, all right, man. Thanks for your opinion and education. I appreciate it. I'm going to jump off.
All right. Take care, man. So I'm just gonna do some little intermission, see what we got going on right now. We're live right now on Facebook. Obviously, the Facebook stream is it's growing. It's like a little seedling that's trying to grow. We got 2 comments. I guess someone commented, which is good. Then we got the YouTube stream. I think we got, how many people watching on YouTube? Prometheus, are you there? Yeah, Prometheus is there. Prometheus is a loyal patron. So yeah, we got 3 people watching. So as we build our page, I'm hoping that we'll get more and more viewers. But it takes time, and it takes us building everything brick by brick. Coolest says, wow, it blows my mind how brainwashed Trump's cult is. I'm not a Trump supporter, so I don't know why you're talking about Trump. You seem like you got TDS. I think you got TDS, buddy. Because you guys bring up... Did Trump bum all of you or something? Because you guys always bringing him up like the ghost of Christmas past or some shit. Trump. Daddy Trump. You shouldn't have spread your butthole for Trump, bruh. Because now you're thinking about him when he's not here, like a scorned woman. Trump. That man took the best years of my life. He's calling troops into our own states. Don't be a damn illegal man. Don't be a damn illegal, and then the military won't come into your state. God damn it! I love Donald J. Trump. He's making America what it's supposed to be. Those goddamn Democrats. They're ruining our country. You know why they came, right? These foreigners. They came to take our jobs. They took our jobs. They came to take our jobs. Donald J. Trump, he's going to restore America back to where it's supposed to be. That's why I love him. I'm a Republican through and through. A Southern American Republican. No. Oh, gosh darn it. AM, West Texas. Austin, a country run by Muslims or a country run by Jews. What is it with the Abrahamic sand tribes and infiltrating everything? Like, goddamn sand ninjas. Ninja, I said TikTok. Please don't ban me. Ben Garinger says, come here legally and don't engage in domestic terrorism. You'll be safe. Oh, there goes my plans. I was going to come here illegally and engage in domestic terrorism. I live in the Midwest and I hate it. They can barely read it. Cheese Dad said, can I hop on? Right. I'm going to go only because I've been kind of unwell today. So I don't want to push myself too much because then I won't be able to come on another day and do these lives. But thank you everyone for your support. I appreciate it. This live will be available on YouTube, as are all of them. See you later, Abdu. See you later, everyone. Let me get some more rest. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye, YouTube family. Appreciate you. See you later, Prometheus. Let me end the live. Last time I was on the live, I left it on. It's a good thing I didn't start like putting up my pecker and fucking gooning, because I left the live on. Someone had to say, Amma, your live's still on. It's a good thing I didn't start